Hello, and welcome to episode 88 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parsi here with my host. It's not Christmas, dog. Co-host Aiden Sarah. Dude, we have a lot of hockey to talk about. Like it is nuts. And we've already been talking for like 3 hours because you were hearing this not in the order we've been doing this. We just recorded a fantastic draft spectacular with our good buddy Jeremy Plourde. We will be throwing to that and getting to that later in the episode. But for now, Aiden, I say we take five and we give a little life update before we go into hockey because I don't think we talked much about ourselves last episode, and I feel like a lot's happened since then. So, Aiden, what's new with you? What's new and exciting? And how is BC Place?
Oh, it was cool. The Gold Cup is the North American football competition. I feel like I was talking more soccer earlier, because there was a World Cup and then a Euro that we were talking about too.
Mhm.
Um, the off years have some cool stuff, and by the off years I mean the even number years have major international soccer tournaments, and the odd number years have your smaller ones. This year it's the North American Championships, and this is the best Canada team that I've ever seen. Um, and by that I don't mean this squad, I mean this state of Canadian football. Um, the talent at the disposal of the Canadian national team is the best it's ever been. And I remember one of the first games I ever watched Canada play. They were smacked. I think like they let in 8 goals against Honduras. And it's a testament to how far this team's come because they handled them with a 6-0 win at BC Place and looked the better team start to finish. They haven't continued as strong, but they still, I think, won their group. Good for them. And yeah, BC Place hosting that game. It was a decent atmosphere. They didn't sell as many tickets as I would have wanted them to, but based on their like the cost was not. It wasn't cheap enough for. It wasn't cheap enough to draw fans that wouldn't go to watch a soccer game, right? But you know what? It was a great time and it's a cool tournament. BC Place is always a fun visit.
And BC Place actually does one of the cooler things. I believe in hockey, Utah's owner Ryan Smith does the same thing. The Lions owner Amar Doman, he's very big on affordable concessions. So if you want a beer, I believe there's a $5 or $6 menu, as well as there are some fairly affordable snack options. And dude, like you can go see a BC Lions game with the family pack deal. You get 4 tickets and a $50 gift card to the White Spot concession stand in there for $99.
You wish you could see that a little bit more, right? Like that sounds like something that, oh yeah, let's go and do that every weekend. Too bad that it's in such a one and only kind of situation.
I feel like I got to give the James update because, dude,
Oh, dude,
I've had a week. I'm
James,
now 27 years old as of yesterday.
did you see did you see my happy birthday message into our hockey pool group chat, or did it get lost in the shuffle?
I attempted to take 30 minutes to my phone to reply to everyone, I think 3 times yesterday, and everywhere it went wrong. Oh, yes, I see a picture of a dinosaur. I did click like on that. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. All right. I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. I've really had a good week, and I've got a lot of awesome people in my life. And Aiden, you must have seen that on display because you were in this group chat with 15 of my friends and girlfriend who were, I mean, they were planning a surprise party for me, and I've never had that happen. I'm a plans guy. I've always been the plans guy. And I was going to my buddy Johnny about a month ago, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not really sure where I want to book my dinner reservation for my birthday." And he goes, "Do you want the boys to just plan it?" And dude, that was the start of it feeling damn special because I think I probably would have said no to that in previous years. 100%. I like being the one setting the event up. And so it was really cool. I thought that my birthday party was this coming weekend, and my buddy Nick was visiting last weekend. And we were just gonna have a chill weekend, play some video games. Him and I went to a little nerd shop. Went and we were coming home for some snacks, and I walk in the door Saturday afternoon, and there are 12 of my, I don't know, like 18 best friends in the world, all just walking around the corner, giving me a big hug. And dude, I was at the biggest loss for words. I had nothing. Nothing. There's a video and I can't get a word out after what the and it was damn cool, man. And then we went out for an awesome dinner, early dinner, which I really like doing, especially if it's like an out with friends drinking dinner. You get out there at 4 o'clock because you have the happy hour at your disposal, and then you have the whole rest of the day at your disposal for whatever you want to do. You could even do a recoup chill at home for a bit. So we went to Nightingale, awesome spot. It's a really big share plate kind of place. I had some fancy Brussels sprouts in like a like maple balsamic glaze, delicious. I had a sun-dried tomato focaccia bread that was just awesome. And then I had a very, very, very nice and very rare steak. I like that thing still moving. Like I want you searing the outsides, and then if the inside is cooked, I'm really disappointed. Like real disappointed. Like it should be warm. That's it. Not hot, warm.
I will walk into a restaurant and order a rare steak, but that is more because restaurants, when you order medium rare, are cowards and will cook it medium.
Yep.
Um, so I'm not quite you, but I respect that.
If I go to the kind of restaurant you're talking about, I'll order it blue.
That's that's
Yeah.
great. Okay, last thing about your birthday.
Yeah.
Um, I pitched in for the gift and I don't remember what it was. So what was the group present for you? Because I know I sent Caleb money for it, but I can't remember what it was.
That would have been three booster bundles of Pokemon cards. Two of them were had absolutely nothing in them. One of them was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And with all the garbage cards, everybody was making it rain on me like I was some kind of trading card game stripper. Yeah, that was pretty funny. It was quite enjoyable. But it didn't stop there. My actual birthday was Tuesday, June 24th. Um, my girlfriend made a bouquet of flowers that had Pokemon cards taped to them, which is hilarious. She decorated my entire apartment before I woke up to go to work, and got me Starbucks before work. I've been off coffee, so she got me an iced peach green tea, delicious. And then we went to Kobe Japanese Steakhouse for my birthday dinner. And dude, oh my God, if you are ever in Vancouver, anyone who's listening, and you have the opportunity to go for a bit more of a slightly extravagant dinner with friends, like your budget's probably gonna be got to be like about 120 for like dinner and a cocktail and maybe something else. And worth every damn penny, man. I was getting tiger prawns, fried rice, like this amazing Japanese soup, teriyaki chicken, shrimp, scallops, one of the best steaks I've ever eaten. Just a perfect cut filet mignon. And man, it's such a show. They're setting onion towers on fire in front of you, damn near blowing your eyebrows off. And these guys are pros. They're doing the shrimp in the pocket. They're doing the shrimp tail in the hat. They're doing the bounce catch. They're doing all of the weighted grill tools. It is so damn cool. So and then I checked out a cocktail bar that I've wanted to check out for a million years. Well, not a million years, not even a million months. I think they've only been open for a year. It's called Prophecy. It's right downtown. I recommend checking out their Instagram. You walk in and they're playing jazz music, and it's real funky. And then I randomly knew the server from the bartender there from the Tap and Barrel near my place, and she gave us a free birthday shot. And one of the cocktails there was named after a forest right next to the town I grew up in. It was a real special birthday. Real special, top to bottom.
Yeah, James isn't gonna sit here and like brag about his girlfriend for a long time. None of this happens without her, James, and I feel like you're 100% aware of that, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
also worth saying that the most active person in this group chat with 16 of James's male friends is his girlfriend trying to get this together. So double kudos to Hallie in the context of James's very, very fun birthday week. And James, the best part of this birthday week obviously is going to be our mock draft. But aside from that, what's the give me number one, everything you said, the lasting thing that will be like you're not going to beat this.
All of my friends know that I like giving out speeches. Speeches are a big thing I do. And we were sitting at Nightingale, the restaurant where we did our happy hour dinner, and I didn't know I was giving a speech until the end. It was more of a monologue than a speech. Just touching on how thankful I was. And this is a year where I didn't have a lot of expectations. I had a lot of ups and downs this year, and just the feeling and emotion going into this birthday. Like I saw my friend Riley, who came for my birthday, he just finished bicycling through South America for 7 months. Yeah, it was so damn cool seeing him and just giving the guy a hug and telling him how damn proud of him I am. Like I can't pinpoint any one moment, but what I can pinpoint is how cool it felt to see all these people I care about, hear from all these people I care about, and every text, every call, every message, it was all so, so, so appreciated. Everyone in my world sure knows how to make a guy feel special. Well, I'm not going to gush any longer. Let's go to hockey, where I have to gush about the first thing we're going to talk about. One of the greatest players that we have watched in our lives, Jonathan Toews. He is coming back to the NHL, signing a contract with the Winnipeg Jets. And this is one of the coolest things in recent memory for me. I would have been a little bit cooler if he signed in Colorado, like the rumors said he could. But you know what? Hometown team, hometown boy. You love to see it. What can you say about Jonathan Toews coming back to the NHL?
It's funny, like despite the fact I was a Canucks fan and one of my earliest two memories are back-to-back second round losses to Taves in Chicago. Um, the young child of me still looked at this guy like an absolute class act. The way I gush about Patrice Bergeron now is kind of kind of the way I would think about Jonathan Taves. Serial winner, serial leader. Everything he touches, he leads their way to success. International hockey legend, along with your Conn Smythe 3 Stanley Cups. Also a player who everybody doesn't think he was as offensively good as he was. Um, d- don't let don't think that ever because it's stupid. This guy was a beast, absolute bona fide first line center. This guy at times was like he was one of the only players to ever be like, is he better than Crosby? And obviously the answer was no. The same way it was no with Claude Giroux that one time.
And
But
Datsuk.
yeah, but he was up there for good reason. Hopefully he comes back and he is. I would absolutely love to see him be awesome on the Jets and be a
Watch him be a
pivotal
second line center and they go on a crazy run.
all over it.
Yeah, put your future bets on Winnipeg. Sprinkle real low, sprinkle real low. Okay, so I was putting together a rundown for this episode and it just kept growing because things just keep happening as they do this time of year. I'm gonna really jam through all of this because it's the time of year where you are going to get hockey news shoved down your throat, and I don't want to go way too deep in everything for you. So first things first, our the cap has been popped off of our trade bottle per se. And JJ Peterka traded to Utah in exchange for defenseman Michael Kesselring and forward Josh Doan. Peterka immediately signs a 5-year extension at $7.7 million per with the Utah Mammoth. First big move with that Mammoth logo and team name in tow. I think Peterka is going to make an immediate impact. He's going to be a disgusting player in that top six for them. And dude, buy him in fantasy. buy him in fantasy hockey right now. This guy is going to be nuts on that power play. I think Josh Doan in Buffalo, I actually kind of like how that fit's going to work. Kesselring as well. I do think Buffalo is going to either flip Kesselring or unload another defenseman. I don't think they're done moving yet. But moving on here, Trevor Zegras shipped off to the Philadelphia Flyers. This one, to some people, may have felt like a shock. To others, not so much whatsoever. I do think Zegras made a lot of strides this season in developing his two-way game and adding a little bit more compete. All and off fighting injury. I mean, he really did the best with what he had, and with a coaching staff that really didn't have a lot of belief in him. And I mean, understandably so. He wasn't super reliable, but the guy made big strides, and I think those strides are going to pay off for the Philadelphia Flyers, who had to pay Ryan Paling a second round pick and a fourth round pick to bring Zegras into the fold. Rick Tocchet, the new Flyers bench boss, has already come out and said he wants to try Zegras and Michkov. I've already seen about 30 memes about this, about how he is going to be having to get hair implants and then pull them out as he's watching them try their 20th Michigan of the game. Um, yeah, dude, it's gonna be boom or bust, but I really, really can't wait to watch the highlights. Like this
Uh,
is gonna be a pair that you don't watch the whole game with. You watch the
okay,
highlight.
I just really quickly, w-
Oh,
if
by the way,
you,
Aiden's gonna brag right now.
yeah, totally. So Trevor Zegras, once upon a time, was one of the most exciting prospects in the NHL, and it was for no reason. So when everybody when everybody sees a young kid that has all these flashes of skill, you're gonna hear Jeremi, Plourde, James and I talk about prospects coming up, and it's a good time to intervene and say it's not just talent, it's not just ability, it's translatability to the program. And Trevor Zegras, when he was 19 years old, looked like he thought he didn't have to do a single thing off the puck because of how good he was skill wise and playmaking wise. And this is the result of that. um, Again, Trevor Zegras to Philadelphia is either going to revive his career or is going to guarantee that he plays out his days in the KHL. It's one of the two.
100%. I don't think it's going to be playing out his days in the KHL. This is the same NHL that played Alexander Dagg for until like he was almost 30. Like you don't like you will always have notoriety and pretty much always keep coming back. Like we've seen much less talented and much less hardworking guys have long NHL careers. So I won't go there, but I appreciate the thought. Next trade up. This one felt like a bit of a shocker, and you know what? I feel like there's a lot of pissed off people today. Vander Kane shipped to Vancouver in exchange for a fourth round pick. Edmonton clearing cap space. Kane with 1 year left on his deal at I believe just under 5.5 million.
Yeah, it's 525. Really quick, Vancouver has $7 million of cap space left currently after this trade and have a lot to do if they want to be even pretend to be a playoff team next year. So, um, yeah, that's all. That's all.
Yeah, next up, Mason Marchment. This one, I feel like this is one of those ones that sting because we talk about all these moves and all of these moves can be exciting, but you have to address the person and the personal level. And Mason Marchment was a very popular guy in the Dallas Stars locker room. Him and Matt Duchene had a lot of chemistry. They had a fantastic line with Tyler Seguin on the other wing when healthy. And you know what? He was a really, really solid player for them. He really found a home in Dallas, and he's been traded to the Seattle Kraken now for a third and a fourth round pick. I think he's going to be much loved in Seattle. He's going to fill the void left by soon to be departing Brandon Tanev and really kind of refresh that forecheck in their bottom six. I think it's a really nice fit. But again, that's Dallas having to clear money. It's the way it goes. When you have a fantastic team and you don't get it done, or even if you do get it done, you got to move guys. Next one up, Seattle staying busy. Trading Andre Burakovsky to the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for Joe Veleno. I like the move for both teams. I really do.
No, Seattle's won these two, both of them. I love it. Veleno is going to be a third line center at best, I think. If he's a top six forward, he's not going to be a huge point producer. Um, Andre Burakovsky has upside, a lot of it, We've seen how good this guy can be. James has seen how good this guy can be. Won a Stanley Cup in Colorado, won a
Oh
Stanley
yeah.
Cup in Washington. Mason Marchment should have, once upon a time, he would have fetched a second, third, and fourth, right? At least. This
Mm.
was just the like Seattle bought this guy low because of Dallas's necessity to move him, and I think it'll look like an absolute steal eventually because Marchment for however much he's going to score, he's going to be just as effective in other ways.
He could play everywhere in your lineup. Power play, penalty kill, even strength. He's jack of all trades. Fantastic player. All right, we're done with trades for now, but I'm going to talk a couple extensions. Sticking with Dallas for a bit, Matt Duchene signing a 4-year extension with the Stars at 4.5 million per. That is a steal. He was their leading scorer this season. He played great. A little bit of a weak second round of playoffs. That's not really what they were looking for. Or third round? Third round. Yeah, week third round of playoffs. And I mean, he he's the kind of guy where he can be a little bit hot and cold, but man, when he's on, he is so on. And when he's off, he's not a passenger. He is still trying his best. He is still putting a lot of effort in, and he's winning you face-offs. He is keeping the boys hyped up in the locker room, on the bench. And I mean, he's the kind of veteran that you want to win with. And as he goes raising a family into the twilight of his career, I think that job security is really nice to have. That was after back-to-back 1-year deals with the Stars, so it's nice to see him get rewarded. Next extension, this one I felt like was honestly kind of a steal. Bruins getting Mason Lowry back, the pending RFA signing for 2 years at 3.2 million per. Dude, he's good. He's really good. He does look like he's 7 years old. He is the biggest baby face in the NHL. And him next to Zadorov with their little like they've got like a funny little rapport going, and they'll be mic'd up at a basketball game and stuff like that. It's quite entertaining, and I feel like he's the kind of piece you want as they really pedal towards the youth movement. Um, Talking Dallas just a little bit more. According to Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic, the Stars are reportedly taking calls on Jason Robertson. This is the same Jason Robertson who everybody's been talking about nonstop for a few years is such a highly elite player. And you really saw him go hot and cold in the playoffs. I mean, he turned it on near the end of the third round, but it felt like a little bit too little too late. And he's entering the final year of kind of a bargain contract he signed at 7.75 million per pending RFA, Aiden.
You're right.
I really think that rekindling that trade relationship with the Carolina Hurricanes and sending Robertson to Dallas would be hilarious. I mean,
Yeah,
sending Robertson over to Carolina would be
yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Carolina are going to land a big fish.
They
Period.
will.
Yeah, they're going to do something. It might be Marner, might be Robertson, could be anything. So keep an eye on Carolina.
Keeping things over in the East now that we're talking about the Hurricanes, another team looking for an impact player. The Ottawa Senators are reportedly interested in signing Brock Besser. Besser, the winger out of Vancouver. I say out because I'm confident that he will not be re-signing, as is seemingly everyone else. The Senators have Claude Giroux as a pending UFA, who I mean, it seems they will be at least attempting to bring back. I imagine there's mutual interest there with that being his hometown team and wanting to be part of the solution going forward and taking this team to the next level. Besser would be a nice add. Senators kind of ran out of scoring as they were bounced in the first round by the Leafs, so it would be pretty cool to see them add a guy like that and see Besser go to a team with those aspirations. Next up, one more little quick hit here. Matt Martin, the longtime bruiser of a grinder and power forward, has retired and joined the Islanders as a special assistant to new general manager Matthew Darsh. He will, I mean, he's been a fan favorite there for so long. There was that line forever with him and Cizikas and Clutterbuck, and dude, that line was the Islanders' identity. It's crazy when the fourth line of a team is the line that they're best known for. And it was so cool to watch. I mean, I would hate to be a defenseman having to play against those guys. It would be awful.
Well, and not just the fact that it was a team whose identity was a fourth line. The team went to the conference final in consecutive years. We were so close to a 2021 New York Islanders Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup final.
That's nuts. Next up, the Hockey Hall of Fame. They have announced their inductees for this coming year, and man, Aiden, he is air pumping, fist pumping, making all kinds of faces. Our inductees are Alexander McGillney, finally, Zdeno Chara, Joe Thornton, Duncan Keith, Jen Botterill, Brianna Decker, and as builders, Jack Parker, the former Boston University head coach for forever, forever. You look up any BU player, they will talk about their time playing for Jack Parker. The guy is a legend. And Canadian women's hockey is Danielle Sauvageau. She is, I believe, a GM in the PWHL. I want to say Montreal Victoire. I could be just a little bit off there, but I believe that's the one. And she was longtime executive with all of these wildly successful Team Canada Olympic and World Championship teams. So, congratulations to all of them. Aiden, give me your 2 cents.
I really like the two female players we have. Brianna Decker has been a long time, very long time successful American female hockey player,
Totally.
six-time world champion. Six-time world champion is something. She won their Olympic gold again. They had lost three consecutive um, Olympic finals to Canada, and in 2018 they got their win in the shootout. She's an NCAA champion. I love it. Jennifer Botterill as well. Like she has this extensive resume. Everybody knows her as an analyst, and I just want to say, like, I love her on Sportsnet. She's not going out there and she's trying to like, oh, Jen Botterill with this crazy hot take. No, she does her job, which is to report on hockey effectively, and she's the most consistent analyst on that panel. Everybody knows her right now as an analyst. Amazing player with an amazing resume, but I love the fact that she's getting in there and she's still so involved in hockey.
Love to see it, man. And those guys, first year of eligibility, Duncan Keith, Joe Thornton, Zdeno Chara, all legends their own right. These are a lot of guys who you 150% knew were going to the Hall. Duncan Keith has, I believe, if you look just based on individual hardware, points, games played, and team hardware, Duncan Keith, I've seen a breakdown with a broken down point system for what each of those things is worth. It was a cool graphic. I'd love to find it again and credit whoever did it. But Duncan Keith has probably the sixth best resume among any defenseman ever. So
Yeah, Duncan Keith, three-time Stanley Cup champion, Norris Trophy winner, Conn Smythe Trophy winner, Olympic gold medalist twice. I absolutely think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Likewise, Joe Thornton. Likewise, Zdeno Chara. But the big name on this ballot, I am so happy that Alexander McGillney is a Hall of Famer. Um, James knows that I am purely an idealist, right? I have my principles and I have the things that I want to be at the forefront of importance. And in the context of hockey and the context of a Hockey Hall of Fame, I don't care about anything. Um, like if Alexander McGillney was in jail for something heinous, I understand why the NHL would be trepidatious at it.
or if there were like steroid things
Yeah, yeah,
or something, like I know there's been that kind of thing in baseball and football where there's been a clear reason why a player is not accepted by that voting committee.
yeah, and I can accept those. The way Borja Salming came to play for Toronto and paved the way for players from Sweden to continue to move to the NHL. That was Alexander McGillney for the Soviets. The Red Army team with McGillney and Igor Larionov, Krutov, we've talked about that lineup before, Makarov, those defensemen. Like, it was so good. But McGillney coming over was a huge deal at the time. He was an amazing Buffalo Sabre. He was an amazing Vancouver Canuck, and he's so overdue to be in there. But for so many reasons that I don't even think should be in the realm of consideration, he wasn't. but finally, and for a long time, every time I've seen players go in the Hall of Fame, I've had that like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy they're in the Hall of Fame. And then the should they be in the Hall of Fame? Well, not until McGillney's there, right? I'm glad that's behind us now. I'm glad he's got that recognition he deserves. And it's not, I'm sure I'm sure this wasn't keeping him up at night, but it's just it makes me happy to see somebody who has been underappreciated finally get some flowers.
Last note on the Hockey Hall of Fame, the snubs. And I don't even really want to call them snubs because everyone was very deserving. But the guys and girls who kind of missed the boat this year, and they could still come up. Hockey, unlike baseball, has no final year of eligibility. I always thought that was the worst thing about the Baseball Hall of Fame. You're only eligible for a certain amount of years, and then you're off of the voting ballot. It makes no sense to me. But Carey Price, this was his first year of eligibility. I firmly believe that he will get there eventually. Keith Kachuk, he's been on the list for forever. Um, and a lot of people figure that, I mean, with the success that Matthew and Brady have in the NHL, people will kind of pay more attention, and that name could come up in a weaker year per se. Uh,
I was gonna
Rod
say that
Brindamore,
Keith
what's that?
Kachuk, Keith Kachuk, Rod Brindamore, and Jeremy Roenick are three guys I think are just waiting for a weak year, and
Yeah.
they'll get in all three of
Well,
them
they
for
did
now.
Roenick last year, didn't they?
Oh, Roner was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brindamore and Kachuk were the two that I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, just
Yeah.
whenever.
Like these guys are slowly just gonna end up in there, I think. But yeah, Rod Brindamore as well. Ryan Getzlaf, first year of eligibility for him. I think it's just a matter of time for him as well. No individual hardware for him, but I mean, I don't really think that matters. He was a runner-up for the Hart Trophy, and I mean, he's got his gold medal, he's got his cup, and he's also one of very few who has ever played that many games and put up that many points with a single team.
Yeah, you win a Stanley Cup. It's the most prestigious thing you could win in hockey. The biggest thing you could win in hockey is the Stanley Cup. But for you to be a best on best champion, you not only had to be on the team that won the tournament, you had to be good enough to be picked for the team that won the tournament. I have nothing against Patrick Maroon, but Patrick Maroon is an example that your greatness as a hockey player does not equate to your number of Stanley Cup wins. Ryan Getzlaf won Olympic gold twice in the World Cup of Hockey with Canada. So like I know the no individual hardware, no Stanley Cups. This was a guy who to me is still decorated because he won the best tournament with the best team, and he was an effective player on all three of those teams.
Patrick Elias as well. That's one that's been eligible for a couple of years. I feel like we will see him at some point. 1,025 points in 1,240 games. He's got
Also with Elias, only forward, what was it? It was him and Scott Gomez one year were like two, like New Jersey does not win one Stanley Cup without him. I think it was 2003. He was their whole forward core. Like the year that he led that team, he led them. And I know that name isn't going to be super flashy, but New Jersey does not have two Stanley Cups. They have one without Patrick Elias.
in 2000, 2001 when they lost against the Avalanche. He was sixth in MVP voting and eighth in Selke voting while leading the Devils in points in the regular season and playoffs.
And you know what? Also, like I was gonna mention this with Zdeno Chara. When you are like a legend of your country, that impacts it too. This is a Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not the Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not the American Hockey Hall of Fame. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's one of the best Czech players ever. So I like it. If for no other reason, then they would get a Czech player in, much in the same way that I'm sure people in Slovakia are so fired up that Chara's in there, and in the same way that when Roman Josi and Anze Kopitar end up in the Hockey Hall of Fame, those nations will be similarly uplifted by that, and I'm a huge fan.
Next year for one of the women's players inducted, watch for Julie Chu, fixture for the United States for a very long time. A lot of people thought this might be her year. Watch for her next year because her resume with in the NCAA with Harvard is nuts. She was incredible at the Olympics, and also when the Women's Pro League, most notably, was the CWHL. She won three titles. Yeah, three titles with Montreal. So one hell of a player in her own right, and one we will see in the Hall For sure. Well, that's all that I think we have on the Hall of Fame for now. This is undoubtedly something that we'll end up talking about before the season again. If any of you guys have been listening since the start, you'll probably remember one of our first couple episodes. We talked with our friend Ben Bazran, and we kind of shot it around on some players who we think could make the Hall and could make the Hall. So undoubtedly, that's something we're going to talk about again. I still believe Jonathan Quick, Hall of Famer, if he ever hangs him up.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and I think it's now we take it to our next guest. This is a returnee and quite the fountain of knowledge for the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. It's Jeremi Plourde back again. The scout for McKean's and friend of the pod here is back to talk the first round of this year's NHL draft. We've got him just in time. The draft being probably a day away from now when you're listening. Yes, what do we have to say? How are you feeling to be back, Jeremi?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This year I've definitely taken the next step in terms of just scouting as a whole. I'm at a little more than 600 viewings overall and about like more than 200 players, different players that I've seen. So I've definitely put in the work and I'm ready to talk about these guys. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna start, Jeremy. Like, run the numbers. I think for me, the most hockey games I ever called in a year was somewhere in the 120s, but your hockey consumption this year is probably more than anybody I've ever known. So tell me how many games you've watched this season, specifically just of draft eligible players. And Jeremy's a huge Habs fan, so I imagine once the playoffs started, he was he wasn't just watching prospects.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I watched the NHL, but I focused a lot more on prospects. Overall, I'm at 643 individual viewings. So it's shift only viewing. So they're about 15 to 20 minutes, I'd say. The better prospects will log probably towards the 25 minutes. Some who play in the SHL or in other pro leagues will log maybe towards them like 10 minutes. Overall, I'd say about 20 minutes each. So 643, that's a lot. Each and every single one of them are individual. So if I watch like the World Juniors or whatever, I don't count for every one of them. I just count for one at a time. Um, so it was a lot of hockey, a lot of fun. I do it for fun. It's not even like a job or something I push myself to do. It's purely fun. So I think that's the best way to do it, right? You don't want to force yourself and then burn yourself out. I've had so much time this year to focus on it, and I'm very happy with how things have gone, and I can't wait for the draft on Friday.
Well, Jeremy, you can't be passionate. That's the best way to do it. I mean, especially with all the time you put in, it's awesome to see. But you know what? I had one big question as soon as you talked about how much time for every individual player, how many different viewings. Is there one player that you had to go back and watch over and over and over again because their stock changed so much throughout the season?
Um, that's a great question. There is one player that I have in the second round that I have 23 viewings of. Uh, it's a it's a very long story. Basically, it's a player that I kind of adored as the season begun. I really, really liked him. And then slowly I kind of understood why he was like I was kind of on an island with him. It's Arvid Drott from Sweden. I still really like him. Like I said, I have him early in the second round, but I kind of fell with him a little bit through as the year went along. But if we're talking about like great prospects, I'd say Carbonneau was a little bit of a hard one to really get a read on. Jackson Smith as well. Both of them I had a lot of viewings of, and Caleb Denoyer as well. I'd say that's three of them. Denoyer it's for a whole different reason, and we'll get kind of more to deep into it as we talk about these guys. But Carbonneau and Smith, it's just because they're super inconsistent and it was hard to really get a read on how they will project. But I feel like I'm happy with how it went. So yeah, I'd say these are the names that I kind of really focused on a lot.
Beautiful. Well, before we hit record, you were telling us about how we're gonna do this mock draft a little bit differently this year. Can you tell us about how we're gonna be lining up these prospects on your end?
Yeah, so we're currently aiming at doing a little bit of a top 16, maybe 17, and then doing honorable mentions. I think I will not just pick best player available because that's what I've been doing all year long. I'm gonna pick the best guy on my list, but kind of gonna adjust it a little bit towards how teams how their prospect pool stacks up. So what maybe they're lacking of, or just the recent trends of players have been going, maybe trying to complement that. So basically, not straight best player available. That's kind of what I'm gonna be aiming at this year.
So Jeremy, it is prospects underscore report on Instagram, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just put on
Okay.
my final rankings there. If you guys want to check.
Yes. So as Jeremy's going through this, he's going to be talking about these players that he's watched all these times, and then I will. Um, his Instagram account is the best tool to listen to something on here, and then if you want to dig more into it, like I had somebody ask me the other day, like how I assess somebody's skating just by watching them, right? And if it was just like speed or whatever, if it was how confident they were in their stride, and I broke it down to that person. But as we're talking about specific assets these players have, and if we glaze over something and you want to know how that's this player's biggest strength, it's not James and I, it's Jeremy. Go and check out his Instagram account because it is all there in a format that I've used to educate myself a lot. So if you're listening to it and you like what he has to say, please, as much as we like the support, we like him getting the support just as much. Before we start, Jeremy, just because it was our last guess, give me your Matthew Guard 2 cents.
My what? Sorry.
Your 2 cents on Matthew Guard for the Red Deer
Matthew Gard.
Rebels.
Yeah, Matthew Gard is a player who had not a lot of support throughout the year. Um, in terms of just like you can see that he was a guy who, if put in a better scenario, could score a lot more points than he did. He didn't have the offensive supporting cast, and it showed in his game. He kind of got frustrated at times trying to do stuff by himself, and that's not a player who should do that. It's a player who should be probably more of a complementary role. He can carry the puck from a zone to another, but that's like not his bread and butter. That's not his main role. I think he's a very good, like, on and off the puck guy, quick touches, very efficient, very smart. He's got more of a physical edge than some people give him credit for. And he's definitely an interesting player who you kind of have to understand that he wasn't put in the best role this year to succeed. Still a guy I would look to potentially draft in the mid to late second round. He's definitely a good player. He's a guy that, like I said, my first viewing wasn't great. My second also wasn't great, but then I understood that, you know, gotta look at the environment. Um, but yeah, definitely a quality prospect and should be probably in most people's let's top 75, let's say, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't watched him enough. If he's outside of that, I think. Jeremy, let's dive. Let's go. Number one overall, despite the fact that there's been a lot of variance in the last 2 years about who's leading this pack. It's been at times Misa, it's been at times Hagens, but it seems like right now it's Matthew Schaefer. That's where I have him going. Number one to the Islanders. No big surprise, at least to me. Is that, do you concur?
Yeah, same. I think that Misa and Schaefer are slightly in two different tiers, and it's not a knock on Misa. I really like Misa. I view Misa as highly, I regard him as highly as anyone. I'm just extremely high on Schaefer, right? I do see this elite number one defenseman potential. And then some people are going to say, well, I'd prefer an elite center over an elite defenseman. But I think Schaefer is a little more than just
Hmm.
it's the next level, the next step. Um, he's a September birthday, I believe, or if it's not September, it's August. He's one of the youngest, I'm pretty sure it's September, one of the youngest guys available for this year's draft, and he's so far ahead of everyone else to me. Um, just like how you could see how obviously he didn't play a lot of games this year. There's been injury concerns, there's been health concerns. Um, how just advanced his brain and his hands and his skating and just the all-around package is super impressive. In all three zones, defensively super aggressive, able to read passes, intercept them, go for a quick turn around, very, very efficient. Quick zone exit. And then offensively, you've seen him go on breakaways, go on end to ends, by himself, but he's also a super good playmaking maestro. He's got all the tools, in my opinion, to succeed in the NHL. I think the Islanders are very lucky to be able to potentially draft a guy like him. And then lastly, like I said, the injury concerns, obviously at the end of the beginning of the year, he had mononucleosis, which is like a lung disease. Uh, that's not an injury. That's a disease. And
Mm.
then it's cured. You're good. Um, and when he came back, you saw there was no like gas tank problems or anything. He was definitely fine. And then he broke his collarbone. That happens. It's not that bad. I don't think so. It's gonna heal, and I think he's already back to 100% right now. He's gonna have the whole summer to fully recover. I don't think injuries are a problem, and I get that some people might be scared of just a lack of sample size, but even last year, draft year -1, he was a 16-year-old in the OHL, and you could just see how much pure potential you had with him. I think the Islanders got a great player there for sure.
To me, the shoulder is not a concern because it is not what makes him as good as he is. Like, this defenseman is one of the, again, and I hate doing like, oh, one of the best I've seen in a long time every time, but the four-way mobility on this defenseman is as good as probably anybody post the COVID bubble, right? Like, you had all those defensemen coming out of COVID, the draft where you had Power, then Luke Hughes, then Edvinson kind of be all over the place all season. And this guy's skating, not just when he walks the line, not just when he's retrieving the puck, but the way he carves through the neutral zone. Like, it's a one-man transition most of the time. Um, James, what did you think of him at the World Juniors? Because it's not often
Oh, I'm
that you
so glad you
see,
asked that.
yeah, it's not often that you see draft eligible defensemen, but I remember we talked Boxing Day and you were blown away by this kid's game against Finland and you had a lot to say. So, what do you have to say about Matthew Schaefer, both from that World Junior viewing and then everything you've gone back and looked at since?
Well, gentlemen, the thing that blew me away the most right away, of course, I knew what I was getting into with him, but there was a degree at which I didn't know how special he was going to be against that level of competition and against that age range. The thing that caught my eye right away is that he is so good that Canada's junior team built their attack around him. As soon as he was not part of it, it was very, very clear to me that with him out with injury, there was no one to fill that void whatsoever. No one that they had lined up for it because his game, I'm not going to say it's one of a kind, but he's unique enough that with his skill set, you could let that bull run. You could let him go bull in a china shop in terms of his offensive prowess and ability breaking out. Um, the guy's a one-man breakout. He thinks faster than he's skating, which is obscene to me. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like,
Because of how fast he's moving too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And they always say like the best players know where to be, where the puck's going to be, not where to go to get the puck. And he knows exactly where it's going to be. The one of the things that caught my eye the most was if a puck rims off the boards, he seems to know exactly where it's going to pop out every time. The intelligence is off the charts, and that's why I agree with both of you. He is a foundational piece more so than Misa. This is a guy you build your franchise around. And this is a New York Islanders team that will not be trading the first overall pick. They've officially declared that. And they have a couple great players in Barzell, in Horvat, and in Dobson, and I mean in your goaltender Sorokin. But you know what? None of those players are a franchise to me. This one is.
Think you're right. Number two belongs currently to the San Jose Sharks. Now, today, Jeremy, I woke up and I saw that San Jose were apparently considering taking Anton Frondel with this pick, which surprised me because the guy I have here, I have them taking simply because of how high this guy's ceiling is. It's Michael Misa. Are you in agreement with me at second overall?
I am. Do you want to talk about him first, or should I?
I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Well, first of all, yeah, it's been rumored that maybe they want to take Frendel. And if we look at who their like how their future core currently shapes up, they have guys who have like a ton of talent offensively. They have Celebrini, they have Will Smith, right? They have Eklund. They have these guys who are just pure talent, especially on the playmaking side of things. Like they want the puck, they want to drive the play, they want to show their skill. And logically, I could see why a guy like Frundell would be a better fit with these guys than a guy like Michael Misa would. But to a certain point, you don't really want to draft for fit when a player is so much better than the other guy. I like Frundell a lot. He's got a lot of great there's a lot of great things to like about him, and we'll talk about him later. Um, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised because he fits well with these guys. And it's not risky. Like Celebrini's not gonna go anywhere, hopefully. Like he's not just gonna vanish after his first amazing season. Um, but Michael Misa would be an amazing second line center behind Celebrini, or even a winger because he played winger in his draft year -1. However they want to use him, he's going to be amazing. He has this chemistry with Igor Chernyshov because he currently plays with him, and that's another guy who's in their prospect pool. Maybe they could fit in a second line together. The pure offensive talent with Michael Misa is insane. I honestly don't see a world where he doesn't become at least a top six piece. I don't. I simply don't. Um, Obviously, like all injuries aside, um, his obviously he's this phenomenal playmaker. He like plays at his own pace, and everybody just kind of follows him, and but they can't really do anything about it. And his physical game really developed this year. He's gotten meaner and meaner. His goal scoring also developed. I think just all around, man. There's just no weakness with him. Um, there's maybe some questions about if he's gonna be a center or not. That's fine. I don't really care. Like that's just such a good player at second overall.
Hmm.
That's definitely the guy to take for San Jose too. I think he's gonna fit well. Frondell would fit well, maybe a little better, but Michael Misa, I think in my opinion, is just gonna be so much better that you don't want to pass on that kind of talent for sure.
So I knew Jeremy and I had very similar Michael Misa opinions, and I just wanted everybody to hear his voice instead of mine because I concur with pretty much everything you said. Yeah, I don't get the he can't play center thing. Uh, his year prior to this one, when he did play wing, I 100% saw the problems. I saw the fact that he knew he was playing wing and he knew what his defensive responsibilities were and were not. And as a winger, the effort level that you need to put in is less. And it was really concerning to me because it looked like a step back in his tempo, in his game overall. It looked like he kind of became a passenger a little bit, more than he should for how talented he is. But then he comes back into this season and he steps in at center. Honestly, Jeremy, like this was a guy that coming into this season I was looking at and I was worried he was going to fall into the Jack Hughes category of all style no substance in terms of like his effectiveness to a team trying to have success in the playoffs. And he's turned me around on it. Like he is at least one of the two best transition forwards in the draft. He might even be one of the two best two-way forwards in the draft that I've seen this year. And if you told me at this time last year that I was going to be saying that about Michael Misa, I would have laughed. Like he just was not this player last year. And his motor too. Like I can't remember seeing. I can't remember one play where I was like, "Holy crap! You should not have given up on that play." He's always going, and I have nothing but great things to say simply because he concerned me so much last year and then showed up this year and made a statement that unless Matthew Schaefer was as good as he was, this is a first overall talent.
For sure. James, do you have any thoughts on him that you want to talk?
Yeah, actually, I have more of a question than a thought for you guys. From the outside looking in, let's pretend I know absolutely nothing about Michael Misa whatsoever. Um, if I am, if I'm an organization that's curious about taking him, I really want to know, and I kind of get a little bit curious about Compete because this is a guy who his entire life was probably the number one ranked player his age on the planet. And all of a sudden, you go through a year where some people have him at fourth or fifth ranked his age. You got to wonder what that does to a guy's confidence, what that had going through his head and what it took for him to get back to this level because you know what, a lot of those concerns are erased because of the year he had. The year he had really silenced all the doubters in my eyes. But how did we get there? Why were we in a position where he dropped so far?
Yeah, I mean, Aiden brought it up really, the draft year -1, and even the beginning of the year. I think, well, just outweighing really, I think that's not his position. Ideally, in the NHL, I'd like him to be a center. Um, but I think what really happened is that, like you said, he's always been this skills guy. I think at a certain point, he understood that he needs to be playing at an NHL type of play. He needs to play with teammates. He needs to play more intelligently instead of trying to, 1 versus 5 the entire team, which he could do, but he really started playing like having a different approach, and I think that's kind of like what why he was maybe a little lower on some people like the beginning of the season, right? I had him low. I remember I had him at around 8 at the beginning of the year, and Ivan Ryabkin is another guy that I had at like 9, and
Hmm.
people were asking me, why do you have these two guys so low? And I was like, I'm not sure on these two guys. Turns out one of them is fantastic, the other guy not so much, but really, I think I think he just needed time to kind of get into that role of playing an NHL type of game, really just playing with teammates, playing intelligently, not going full throttle all the time. Uh, use his brain more, right? And he kind of needed to adjust. And then as soon as he understood that really that's how he needed to play, he just turned on the switch and started absolutely tearing apart the OHL this year. Um, and yeah, he's still got all the skills, he's still got all the tools, but now puts it all together in a style that's going to work so well in the NHL, so much more efficient. He's a better goal scorer than he ever was now, even though he's an amazing playmaker. He's a more physical player than he ever was. Like Aiden said, the two-way effort is there as well. He's like a, a little bit like Matthew Schaefer. He's an
Hmm.
all-around package, just a forward, right? So that's kind of how I see it.
And yeah, like I'll re-emphasize, Michael Misa being the total package was on like not even near my bingo card before this season started. So again, just I love the guys who I love the guys who you don't have to draft and say this is what we need to fix because they clearly knew it and did it, right? The guys that take that step into a part of their game that they've needed to take that step into in their draft year. Chicago at number 3, I think, is where our first differentiator is going to be. And I'll give you the floor first. Tell me who you think is third overall in this draft.
Right. If I were to be Chicago, I would probably take Caleb Denoyer at 3. Obviously, myself being from Quebec, focusing a lot on that region. I've seen him a lot. I've seen him live a few times this year. Um, Same thing. That's another player who at the beginning of the year I had towards the 10 to 15 range. I think a lot of people had him there. And then again, he just played a pro-like type of game, but you wouldn't really see the upside until he really kind of fully morphed into that pro style of game at an elite level. Um, Denoy is an interesting one because not a lot of people really know how well-rounded and then how elite he is. It's two sides of the coin, right? First of all, how well-rounded. He hits more than basically anyone in the first round, and no one knows that. He hits like a ton. Maybe Shane Van hits more. I'm talking about forwards, obviously. Um, Maybe Shane Van hits more, but if you look at hits per game with like data that I have, he hits more than all of these guys. And those are not booming hits. It's efficient contact to remove people, remove other like opponents from the puck. and just always just efficient. He's not there to be this flashy player. Defensively, on the penalty kill, he's so good. He's going to be an amazing penalty kill one unit in the NHL easily. I have no doubt on that. And just defensively, always there to help his teammates, always there to help his defensemen deep low along the boards. He never cheats offense, never stays at the blue line, or I mean, almost never. Obviously, it happens to the best of us, right? Um, I think now in terms of tools, if you look at the overall potential, that's where some people have questions. Some people maybe doubt his skating, his space, and his pace. Sorry. Some people aren't sure about the goal scoring, the shot. I think honestly, I think the skating is a little underrated. And he's so intelligent, so far out of the play that he doesn't always need his feet to be faster in order to beat these guys. The hands are elite. The vision is the best part about him. The how he can attract pressure towards him and then make it so much easier for his teammates, right? He's a play facilitator. The vision is elite. I think the skating is fine. I think the hands are elite. I think his shot needs improvement, but that's really it. And like I said, he's so intelligent and can understand positioning, can understand manipulation of the defenseman, can understand how to play make at such an elite level, and just all around work or like as an NHL player so well. I think he's gonna fit into a top six center role easily. And now we're talking about Chicago. You know, it's not 100% sure as if Connor Bedard will be a center. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. It's not 100% sure as if Frank Nazar will be a center. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I think I would love to see Desnoyers tried with Bedard, right? Not next year, because you need don't expect the final results next year or in 2 years. Expect them in 3, 4 years. You're gonna see. I'm convinced you're gonna see Desnoyers be an amazing play facilitator for a guy like Connor Bedard. Bedard needs these guys who are able to draw pressure towards them in order to leave some space to his lethal shot. I think he would work amazing with a guy like Connor Bedard. Um, but then again, there's a bunch of other players, and then Aiden, you can talk about the other guy you have at three. There's a bunch of players who are, in my eyes, equally as good at that range. That would be my pick. But yeah, who do you have, Aiden?
James Higgins is a guy who has dropped on everybody's board, including mine. Um, but the Chicago Blackhawks right now, I think, are at the perfect position to just go best player available. Um, I completely understand. Not only do I understand, I think you're 100% right that Connor Bedard and Caleb Desnoyers on the same line would be like kind of just if you could just build customized two NHL players to play together on your franchise for a long time. You're playing those two guys together, right? Like it's a really nice match. What I will say is this Chicago prospect pool is massive. They have an excess of pretty much everything, um, including forwards who can play both center and wing. James Higgins is another one of those guys. He took a step back this year by virtue of the line he played on, I think. The concern with him is that he took a step back from play driving, and that was his best asset when he was at the development program, was the fact that he could scoop up the puck and just dance. And he could dance through everybody with his feet, with his IQ. His hockey sense was off the charts. He's a great passer of the puck. Um, he is the most talented player in this draft after the first two. I truly believe that. Um, and again, you're absolutely right about everything you said about Boisvert. Or sorry, about Desnoyers, but that could also be said about Sasha Boisvert. And when you look at this Chicago prospect pool, there's a lot of that Sasha Boisvert player. They have Oliver Moore, like you said, Frank Nazar's there. Even somebody like Marek Vanacker. I know you were a huge fan of him. There's a lot of guys that can fill out different spots. And I think with Chicago being where they are, I think you just go to add the most talented player you can at this point because they are loaded up in so many different categories already. Like as much as Desnoyers or Anton Frondel would be an amazing addition as far as fit goes. I think Higgins is a player who you put him back in a spot where he's driving a line he's going to be an amazing player. He was playing in between Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard at Boston College this year. That's not a bad thing, but it also means that he is deferring every time. He's deferring the puck off to these two players who have played together for their entire lives and are just used to a different player playing that position. James Higgins had to be more concerned about being Will Smith this year than being the best version of James Higgins. And I think the best version of James Higgins is completely worth Chicago's third overall pick.
It's a fair point. I like that. Um, James, do you want to talk about this, or we can fight the next pick?
You know, I would gush about this, but the amount that I've gushed about James Higgins throughout the season is gonna make me keep it a little bit short. This is where the draft is gonna get really interesting for me because this is where things change. The cap really blows off, and I feel like there's a lot of teams that could really surprise here. And I'm curious to see where both you guys go with this, because now that we're out of this group, there's probably one or two guys that have to go in the next couple picks. But after that, it's pretty exciting. Jeremy, where do we go after this?
Well, so far we're gonna keep things simple because at 4 I do have James Higgins. I'll talk quickly about him. Basically, the reason why I have Dinoye ahead
Hmm.
is because I'm always looking for these players to have both the floor and the upside. I think Dinway's upside as a high level playmaker and a high level defensive player is very misunderstood by a lot of people. And he has this floor where I think there's really, I would be shocked if he doesn't become at least a second line center, at least minimum. Um, like a good quality. I'm obviously I'm not talking about deployment, just the quality of the player, right? Higgins, I'll get him to him now. It's weird because I obviously he was everyone's number one last summer. Um, and this year he had 37 points in 37 games in the NCAA as an 18-year-old. That's not bad. Like that's not bad at all. And then the way people speak about him, it feels like he's just had this horrible year, but it's not been the case. The thing is that with I feel like that's kind of why we're a little lower. We're all collectively a little lower on Higgins this year. We've just had back-to-back years where we've seen guys in their draft year absolutely demolish the NCAA. Celebrini and Fantilli back to back, aside from the production that wasn't too dissimilar to James Higgins, the way they were playing, just Fantilli bulldozing people, scoring goals by himself, deking out like the entire team, just playing like the absolute like elite power forward that I think still could still be in the NHL. I think he had an underrated season this year. And Celebrini, like man, I hate to say this, but he's had a better year than Connor Bedard this year. Um, if I were to say that last year, I would be laughed at so badly. I think these two guys have just completely dominated the NCAA in their draft year. When I look at Higgins, I don't think it's been the case. Aside from the statistical profile, when I look at him, he like Aiden said, he doesn't drive the play, he doesn't dominate the NCAA as much as I would love him to. Every time he's starting to look good, catch some momentum, I look and it's like, oh, that's a power play. That's 5-on-4. At 5-on-5, with the NCAA being obviously tougher league than the USHL, it's a next step. I feel like he hasn't really kind of taken the next step and really improved throughout the year. There's been some sort of he's stagnated a little bit throughout the year. And then again, stagnated as a point per game NCAA player isn't bad. I just don't think it's groundbreaking good. There's some concerns about how well-rounded his game is. I think he's still trying to find himself, what role he will play in the NHL. The playmaking is there. The skating is so good. He's one of the best skaters this year. There's a lot of tools. We'll see how his brain kind of works at the next level. And with Dinoye, I'm very confident that it will work. Higgins, maybe a little less, but still, then again, I have him at 4. I love the tools. He's still a great player, and yeah, that's the guy I'd have at 4. Currently at 4 is Utah. Obviously, Utah is not going to pick a guy like James Higgins. It's just not the type of player they want, especially that they already have a Logan Cooley. Um, James Higgins is not too dissimilar to a guy like Logan Cooley in the sense that they're finesse first players with a bunch of skill. smooth skaters and playmaker-oriented players. I think they're going to go for a different approach. Who do you have it for, Aiden?
I have Porter Martone at fourth overall, and it was a player that what year was it? It wasn't it had to be last year. Yeah. Last year at the U18s, this guy screamed he's gonna end up first overall to me. Um as I think a lot of people probably also saw because he had 17 points in 7 games. And that was on a team like he looked like the best forward on that Canadian team for a large part of the tournament on a team that had Tisha Ginla and Gavin McKenna on it, and he stood out. He was the captain. Uh, this season, what I really like this season is that he's turned himself in my mind from a 100% this is a power forward to I don't think his power is everything here. Like I think if he was instead of 6'3", 208, if this guy's 5'11", I think his vision and his passing, his offensive ability as a whole would still have him in this spot. And that's my concern a lot of the time when I look at a player that, don't forget, Jeremy, like he was born in October 2006. So this is already one of the oldest players in the draft. And that's what scared me away from him early in the season. But the more I watch him, the more his playmaking improves and the more the vision is there, the more the hands are there. And the more convinced I am that this is a top 3 player in the draft in terms of ceiling. Definitely not in terms of floor, but he's got a great shot. He's a great passer. So even if the dominance that comes from him being bigger and have like he's been bigger than everybody for a while, right? Like the early birthday had an early growth spurt, but the dominance that comes from that, I think, is taking away from how good of a playmaker this guy is.
Yeah. I love how you said that Puerto Martone maybe isn't this power forward at the next level. First, I just want to say, Frank Saravelli just reported that apparently JJ Peterka is going to the Utah Mammoth. So that might be for the fourth overall pick. We're gonna look at that. The deal isn't completed, but that's kind of the word that's going around. If it's for the fourth overall pick, I think a guy like James Higgins could go to Buffalo. I think it would be a better fit. Um, so yeah, just big rumors. Obviously, it's before the draft, a lot of fun to look at. So at Porter Martone, I mean I haven't five. I haven't five, so he's up next for me. If you want, I can just start talking about him.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like you said, I don't think he's this power forward at the next level. There's a lot of people saying he's kind of the third Kachuk brother. Obviously, that's a term that's being thrown around every single second as soon as a player is physical and good.
It's also Ryan Leonard, by the way. Like, it's Ryan Leonard. That's the answer. The third Kachuk is Ryan Leonard. Period. Nobody else is it. Like, that's
That makes a lot more sense with Ryan
yeah,
Leonard, right?
yeah.
Martone isn't that. He's not like he doesn't use his body to drive the net. That's not what he does. He uses his frame for his reach. And honestly, Martone is a guy who's kind of weird because um the skill level and the highlight like I could run a highlight tape of him. I could put like 5 minutes of just pure highlight and make you think he's the best player in the world. The pure skill level and how he can deke out just literally anyone at any given time. Not sorry, not any given time, but like after a few tries maybe. Just how he can really, honestly, truly deke out anyone. Um, it's insane to see. The skating might not be the best. The two-way effort might not be the best. He's not the most consistent player at all. There's large stretches where he doesn't have this secondary game of like being a great forechecker, being a great defender, being a great physical guy. He's a on puck guy and not a puck carrier, but a guy who if you give the puck to in the offensive zone or just past the red line, he's gonna be able to make some sensational plays. The hands are just at an elite level. The skill is just absolutely insane, man. I think if put in the right scenario, that's the thing with Martoni. He really needs to be put in the right scenario with the right teammates. But if it happens, if you got those teammates that can really drive the puck up the ice for him, that can really go do the puck like kind of drawing pressure towards them and then passing it to Martone. And then there's like maybe one guy left. Martone's gonna go around that guy and it's gonna score a fantastic goal. The upside with Martone is through the roof. I love him. Um, he's risky in the sense that, like I said, I think his game isn't well rounded and he's not a power forward at all. He's more of a finesse player. But I still have him at five. Again, Nashville currently drafts at five. Not sure it happens, maybe. But regardless, like that's a player that if you put in the right scenario, will be just very, very good potentially. Yeah, so that's who I have at five. Who do you have at five for Nashville?
It's my turn to dip into the Caleb Denye well.
There you go. So we have the same top five, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Just in different order.
yeah. You went on and said a bunch of things that I would have absolutely agreed with about Caleb Denye. The thing that I want to quickly add is this guy is a serial winner. This guy wins everywhere he plays. He won the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League this year with the Moncton Wildcats, was the playoff MVP with 30 points in 19 games in the process, won the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, and won the U18s in 2024. So as good as he is in total and the whole package that Jeremi has already presented, he's also somebody who has managed to win every single place and every single time it's been asked of him. So there is there is an element of that, and I talk about that a lot when it comes to the World Juniors. That there is a learning how to play big games that kids should be going through before they're 20 years old, and Denye has been there and proved he can do that. Number six is Philadelphia, James and Jeremy. Um, at six is a guy that I would have had as a slam dunk top three pick, and it's Roger McQueen. At the start of the year, Jeremy, I was as excited about him as I was about Caden Lindstrom last year because, like, Martone is big, but he's not a power forward. Roger McQueen might be the power forward in this draft because the way he can, like you said it yourself, it's the reach of Martone, and it's the fact that he uses that reach to get the puck without necessarily bodying somebody off it. Roger McQueen runs around and does both those things off the puck. And that's where I'm higher on him than I am on Martone in terms of the ceiling because I think this is the biggest boomer bust. It's the biggest risk of the draft because he only played 17 games. That the back injury early in the season killed him. Like this player was on a special trajectory with Brandon. Um, Jeremy, I saw Evgeny Malkin, early shades of Evgeny Malkin when I watched him play in person. You are going to be, I think, more pessimistic than that. He will not be Evgeny Malkin. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that was the style of player that I was seeing. But this might just be a medical risk assessment because a back injury is no joke.
Yeah. Well, I also have him at six, so I guess we'll just keep talking about him. I also loved him at the beginning of the year. I was a little lower on Martone when everyone was higher on Martone. I preferred McQueen. I thought McQueen was the fastest skater, was a little taller. I thought he was smarter, um, better playmaker, and more physical. I thought he was just better. There's been just problems along the year that kind of made me switch this opinion, but then again, I have him one spot below Martone. I think Martone is the better goal scorer. I think Martone it has the better pure flashes of skill and has potentially more upside. But I love McQueen as a center. I think he's an amazing guy, like in terms of just wanting the puck all the time and wanting to drive the puck and bulldoze people, impose his frame, impose his will through the neutral zone. And he's more off the puck, way more active than Martone. I love players, and you're gonna see who my next pick is. You'll see what I'm saying right now. I love players who are super active off the puck and who want that puck and who want to drive drive it up the ice. McQueen does all that. Now the problem is, like you said, injuries, and it's not any injury, it's a pretty big injury. Apparently he's been medically cleared, but then again, it's that time of the year before the draft. Who knows really which doctor said what, right? So we'll see if he really is fully healthy. I would really hope he is because I don't want him to kind of fizzle out due to injury and us not really getting to know if he would have been good or not, right? Um, McQueen is a very old player for this year's draft. He's 11 months and something older than Matthew Schaefer, right? Matthew Schaefer missing a lot of time is fine because he's super young. That guy like McQueen is already older than everyone else in the draft. If he misses this entire, basically almost this entire season, he has a lot of, catching up to do, and he's older than all of these guys. That's kind of a little step back that I have at first. And then, yeah, I would have loved to see an entire season. I would have loved to see how he would have performed in the playoffs. I'd love to see if there was any progression towards like his shot and his skill level. But I love the brain. Yeah, his intelligence. I think he's an underrated playmaker. I love that he always wants the puck in all three zones. Love the physical potential. I think, like you said, probably more of a power forward than Martone. Definitely. Um, just sucks, man. I wish he wasn't injured at all. But then again, I still have him at 6. I still really like him. I think that's where I think it's higher than where he will go in the draft. Probably he's going to fall a little bit. Maybe not too much. We'll see how it plays out. He's a little bit of a wild card, but yeah, us having him at 6 is probably a little high. Um, I could see him being a Philadelphia Flyer. That's the guy. Sorry, that's the team at 6. I could see that being as a good fit. So yeah, guess we can go to the next pick now.
I really have to echo exactly what you said about pick 6. I mean, I personally, I think I probably would have put McQueen just because of the injury concerns with that size of guy a couple picks later if it weren't for the Philadelphia Flyers picking right there. That guy screams Flyer, and you know what? With all the talent they have in the pipeline, with the acquisition of Trevor Zegras just recently, I mean, this seems like the risk you want to take because this is a guy who's probably a top 3 talent and skill set, but you're able to go and get him at number 6 because of those injury concerns, because of the depth of the draft. And I feel like it's an opportunity that you just can't pass up.
Yeah, I agree. Fits well with them for sure.
Boston at 7. What do you guys have next?
You want to go, Jeremy? Because I don't think we're gonna have the same one this time.
No, I'm gonna have a little bit off the board. He's a guy who really rose late in the year for me. That's Braden Coots of the Seattle Thunderbirds.
Oh,
Yeah, hot take.
that's a jump.
It is a lot of basically everyone has Murtka, the other Seattle Thunderbird, ahead of him. I have Braden Coots because I think he, like Caleb Denoyer a little bit, is a misunderstood player in the sense that you really have to pay attention. Braden Coots doesn't beat. First of all, he beats everyone like that he faces, especially down the year. He's just able to dominate the WHL and really be an elite player. Now, if you look at how he does it, that's really what I think is super interesting and promising. He doesn't beat play with speed. He doesn't beat opponents. He doesn't beat opponents with speed. He doesn't beat opponents with size. He doesn't bully them. He doesn't beat them with like just better hands and better skill. He beats them with everything, with his especially with his brain. He's just able to play so well and able to capitalize on everyone's mistakes so well with the puck and able to just get the puck through everyone super well. Um, he reminds me a little bit of Beckett Seneke with the puck in the sense that he's able to just make it work all the time and has this tremendous potential. Um, I I really really love the playmaker. I think he's such an elite playmaker. If you really pay attention to what he does in the offensive zone, he's always looking to make a pass in front of the net in those high danger, high reward areas. That's what he does best. This, like I said, doesn't beat people with his skating, but his skating is elite, especially the agility, the edges. It's so good. And then once again, off the puck, he's a monster. He's such a good forechecker. He's so intelligent in terms of just being able to intercept passes. He does it so well. Um, His positioning for his teammates in order to, be a viable passing option is so good. I just think he's such a great player. And again, it's kind of like I really see a high floor with him and with the potential of being a high elite level playmaker guy with a certain ceiling, a certain runway to improve as maybe even better than a second line guy. I just think he's a really, really underrated player by most. Currently, this is Boston at 7. That's not where he's gonna go. I can guarantee you that. But Boston fans would love him. They would love the work ethic. They would love the playmaking aspect. Um, I feel like it's just a guy who's always going to be underrated his entire career because you really have to watch him to understand. I really expect a big year from him next year. I think he's going to just destroy the WHL. I expect like at least 20 more points, 20, probably 25 more points than what he had this year. I think it was about point per game, maybe towards the 65, 70 range. That was what he had this year, I think. Um, man, I think like a little short of 100 points. That's probably gettable the next year. Because his game is already so well rounded. He's already rounded his game super well. He's not those flaws like flawed players that just capitalize on being a little better than the junior guys, but are clearly going to hit a wall. That's not him at all. I think he's going to translate super well. Uh, so that's the guy I'm kind of reaching for this year. That's the guy I really want. Um, we'll see where he goes. Probably around 2015 to 25, somewhere around that. But yeah, I just can't wait to see which team drafts him. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see how he develops. So that's the guy I would draft at 7.
Jeremy, before
I
I let Aiden take it away here, do you have a player comparison for those who may not be as familiar with Braden Coots?
Oh, let me think of it. I'll let Aiden talk, but I won't forget. I'll just start thinking about it because that's a good question. I actually haven't thought of it before.
I kind of think of Coots like, again, this is underrating him. I watched him play and I was like, this is gonna be the best possible version of like maybe like the best Vincent Trocek could be. You know, best like think about a guy who was like a precipice 1C, very strong 2C. That's where I'm putting Coots. And all of that has come from like the last 2 weeks. This was a guy I had squarely in that 15 to 25 range. He moved up 9 spots since I made my first list, but he's not 7 because Anton Frondel is. Um, I had him higher when I watched him in person in December. I watched him at the World Junior A Challenge though. So that is a level of competition that was not not as good as he was playing in the Allsvenskan on a regular basis. The problem here is the play driving to me because it's the difference between him being a very good top 6 center and a very good third line center. Like, I think he has a high floor. I think Boston will get a 3C out of this guy no matter what. But it's hard when you watch him in the Allsvenskan because, again, much in the same way that you saw Hagen's deferring a lot, Anton Frondel, when he got the puck in his own zone, it was a pass and then he didn't touch it again, right? Like he defers it and then he gets it back in the offensive zone. When he gets it back in the offensive zone, that shot is lethal. It is on target. It's a sniper's release. It is so good, but I want to see more from him in the middle of the ice, in the neutral zone, because as a centerman, you need to at least show more ability to be a play driver. With that being said, the production was there. 25 points in 29 games in a pro league, absolutely nothing to balk at. He will be a great player at this World Juniors. He'll probably be Sweden's best player. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. If I say like, if I were to say Bo Horvat with this player, Jeremy, I want to know how your opinion on that is because I have the tendency to compare players to Canucks. So I want to know if this player is Bo Horvat or if I am or if I'm doing the Canucks thing there because at the start of the year I thought he was more Eriksson Ek, but it's been trending kind of away from that.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. First of all, I'm just gonna talk about just the final like player comparison, Braden Coots. I'd say with a very, very wishful thinking, maybe a guy like Braden Point, who's just better all around than everyone in
Ooh.
1C. That's extremely wishful thinking. I think a realistic one would be maybe a guy like Carter Verhaeghe, a guy who's very good off the puck, able to be this amazing forechecker player, going to play in any possible role, as a second line, maybe third liner, probably second liner to me. Braden Coots, that's like kind of what I see as like a very realistic option. Uh, with one thing about Braden Coots as well, I didn't mention he's got a nasty shot. People don't know that because he doesn't just blow like do it all the time because he's a very well-rounded player. But if you look at only his goals, you're gonna see his shot is actually nasty accurate. Verhaeghe scored. There was one season where he scored like a lot of goals. Maybe I think he scored 41 at some point, or like it was 35 something. He had like a very productive season in terms of goal scoring, but overall it's a little more of a playmaker, but he has this dual threat shot pass combo. I think Coots has that kind of potential. Now, if I want to talk about Enzo Frodel a little bit, I see what you mean with Bo Horvat. Frondel, I will talk about him a little later. I have him at well a few picks after. Um, I honestly, first of all, I was curious that he wasn't at the World Juniors this year. You know, they brought Eklund, but they didn't bring Frondel, who is a more physical, probably more mature and more well-rounded player at this point. Eklund ended up being phenomenal at the World Juniors. I thought he was very good. I thought he was even dominant at times, depending on who he was facing. But yeah, I would have loved to see Frendel there. Didn't happen. It's okay. It's gonna happen next year. And but yeah, I see what you mean with Borovat. To keep it simple, physical, goes hard and scores goals. So yeah, I get what you mean for sure.
All right, Seattle blew me away last year because I thought after drafting centers for the first however many years of their existence, they might switch it up and take a defenseman. They picked Berkeley Catton over Zane Parekh. I still wouldn't have done that. But they're back, and there is all the defensemen in the draft currently available for them on the board. Um, I have them taking a defenseman. Do you?
Let me look. No,
I'll no,
no.
no, you don't. I'll take it away with the first defenseman of the draft then. 6'3", 200-pound Jackson Smith of the Tri-City Americans. Um, the amount of love that I have developed for Thomas Harley in the last 9 months has definitely fueled how much I like Jackson Smith because I kind of just see them in each other all the time. The more I watch Harley, the more I like Smith just because I see all of those great things. He is such a good neutral zone defender. Like he's the guy that somebody's breaking at him with a puck and there's nothing but dump the puck in on him. You have no other option. He is not letting you past him with the puck or on your feet. Like he just isn't. Um, all roads to this guy lead to be a top four defenseman. He's so good offensively, but he's got that frame and he can shut you down. And then again, much in the same way that I talked about Matthew Schaefer's four-way mobility, Jackson Smith's isn't as good, but he can move side to side with ease. And when you do get that puck dumped in on him, he turns around, he's there, and it's off his stick and onto a teammate's stick before he gets touched, before his stick is going to even get close to him, right? Like he is so energetic, he's so active. Um, Seattle needs to take him, man. Like I just it was Parekh last year for me. Every Calgary Flames fan is ecstatic it wasn't, but they have a do-over, and I think the Kraken are gonna get their blue chipper on the back end at 8. Who do you have in this spot?
I have Victor Eklund. So yeah, first I just want to say like a lot of people forget that Matthew Schaefer is the first defenseman just because there's like such a
Yeah.
he's out of this world. Like he's so far and away. I make this mistake all the time. I'm like, oh, okay, the first because Jackson Smith also is the first. Sorry, the second defenseman, like the first after Schaefer. But yeah, it's like it's so weird. I just wanted to say it's so weird how I have Schaefer at 1, and then I don't even have another defenseman in my top 10. So
Hmm.
it's Jeremy and everyone else. This year's unique for defensemen. Very, very strange year. Anyways, so Victor Eklund, my pick at 8. Victor Eklund is again a player I think has such a high compete level that it doesn't matter where you put him, he will be a fan favorite. Um, it feels like when you have the buck and he's like the nearest player, and then like he kind of activates and kind of understands that he needs to go at you, he's going to jump on you with like his head first and his two arms ready to like punch you in the face. Not that he's physical, but just he's so quick and so relentless with his pressure. It's so amazing to see. His off-put game is hot up there with one of the best in the entire draft. Um, yeah, the motor, the energy level, kind of this year's Zach Benson, but actually like a better acceleration. Um, he was playing with Frendel with Drew Gardens all season long. I remember seeing him because he was playing at pro level, right, in the Allsvenskan level.
Yeah.
I remember I think he played 2 games in the J20 level in October or November. I immediately said never, like I wrote it down in my notes, never doubt the skill level ever again. Even if he doesn't show it all year, he has that skill level because he torched the J20 by just being just better. Like literally just better than everyone else. It wasn't even close. Um, it was amazing to see. So yeah, the skating's there, the feet are there, the effort level is there. But aside from that, he's a very good playmaker with a very good skill level. Yes, he's a little bit on the smaller side, but yeah, he's going to complement guys like he's going to be like a Zach Hyman plus, less of a goal scorer, but in the sense that he's going to play that role with stars on the first line. He's going to play that role with just being in your face, being annoying, being this pesky guy, and playing with a ton of pace. He's different than his brother. His brother isn't as aggressive and pesky, and he's more finesse oriented. Um, Victor has a lot of finesse in him, but that's not his bread and butter. Um, William is more of this finesse guy. I think both are great players. But yeah, I just Victor Eklund is going to be such a good player. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe he falls on draft day, probably lower than what I have him at 8. I think Aiden, you probably I haven't seen your list, but you probably have him soon. I think he's going to drop like maybe way outside the top 10. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Yeah, I'll let you with the next pick, Buffalo.
Yeah, I think there's too much there's too much upside with Victor Eklund for him not to go at least in the top 15, honestly. Like I think the only thing holding me back with him is the age because
It's true.
he again is one of the oldest players in the draft. Last thing on Eklund before I move it to Buffalo, more so than Zach Hyman, and this is an archetype of player that I also go to the well of too much, but Travis Konechny was my thought
Yes,
watching.
that's a much better comparable for
Yeah.
sure.
Just the way he buzzes around the ice. Amazing. Like just the motor doesn't shut off. He never runs out of gas, Eklund. At number 9, I have the Buffalo Sabres taking Braden Coots' teammate. It's Radim Murtka. I think him coming to North America was huge for this guy because I think everyone I think there was a sense like start of the year he was a first rounder, right? Like I'm not misremembering that.
Yeah, he was a little less known, and
Yeah.
he wasn't playing in North America, but he was still like a first. Yeah, he was a first rounder. Yeah,
When you look at the ice time he was getting in Czechia, like he had played 10 games at the U20 level, and then he moved up to the pro level, played 10 more games. He was playing 10 minutes a night, not even when he was at the tier 1 level in Czechia. And then he goes to Seattle and like the skating is the one thing that I'm not 100% sure about, but everything else screams number 2 right side defenseman, like the perfect guy to pair with a Matthew Schaefer. like it's a match made in heaven the way these two guys play, I think. He moves the puck really well, and he's solid offensively, but it's his shutdown ability that I just love. Like it's not so much it's not so much him killing plays in the neutral zone the way that Jackson Smith does. It's just if you get complacent with the puck on your stick in the offensive zone at all, like you're getting moved off the puck. Radim Murka is going to come and move you off the puck. It might be a stick lift and then body position. He might send you into the boards, but it's in one way or another, he's going to alleviate that danger. And for the Buffalo Sabres, it's they've drafted so many high end forwards. They haven't taken a defenseman in the first round, I think, since Owen Power. So it's time for them. If I'm not mistaken, do they have another pick in this first round? I don't think so. I'm not seeing one. Um, but Murtka to me is a great player to have at the top of your draft hall because you at least have somebody to look at and say he will be a Buffalo Sabre. He's going to wear that jersey for sure.
Yeah, those are great points. Murtka, I will talk about him, sorry, today, a little later on. Um, but the guy I have, so it's Buffalo's pick at 9. The guy I would pick is another one that's a little off the board. So this is my second off the board guy with Braden Coots. It's Colin Potter of
Oh,
Arizona State University. That's a guy that I just adored ever since I've had my first viewing of him last season. I see Jesper Bratt in him. I really,
ooh,
really
I
this
love it. That is awesome. That's an awesome comparison. Yes.
and obviously I'm a little bit biased because Jesper Bratt is my favorite player in the NHL. Um,
hmm.
and I really, really see a potential of him maybe reaching that one day. I think the floor is a little higher than some people potentially expect. Like some people think he's boom or bust, either top six or nothing. I feel like he could run like maybe a bottom six hard check if he needs to completely change his game, obviously, because that's not how he plays. But I'll get to it. Basically, I'll just talk about the pure upside. The skating is insane. One of the
Ooh.
fastest like skaters in the entire draft. Obviously, he's a little smaller, but that's like if you're a little smaller but you're insanely talented and insanely fast, I think you're gonna be fine in the NHL. There's a bunch of small guys this year. You've got your Colin Potter, you've got your Victor Eklund. I think that's the top of the notch. That's the best guys that are small. Then you've got your Cam Smith, you've got your LG Mooney, who is extremely underrated, by the way. You've got your Adam Banach. You've got some smaller guys, Michael Sverchek as well. Um, I think Colin Potter is just a step ahead of all of them because the pure skill level, the speed and the playmaking, just the overall offensive potential you've got in him is insane. Like in terms of pure talent, I see some people having Colin Potter like outside their top 32, and I'm like, how
What?
can how can you skip on just that pure level of skill? Like who at 32 are you gonna pick that's just has this chance of being this top six forward, right? Or like elite player. Um, yeah, I think in with Arizona State University this year, he wasn't playing the most projectable hockey. I'm not going to lie. Um, I'm not going to say that he was perfect all season long. I expect him to maybe produce a little more. Then again, he was the second youngest player in the entire NCAA. The entire NCAA was second youngest player being born on January 10th. The only guy youngest is January 17th, so that's a week after Sasha Boumedienne. But anyways, although he was one of the youngest, I still thought he could have played a little more like a NHL type of hockey, playing with his teammates a little more smartly, like intelligently. But man, the playmaking, the transition game, the speed, the talent, I think he's a guy who could have this insane potential. When he looks good, he's gonna, bring you up to your feet, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, that's an amazing player. Who is that?" And then you see it Spotter, you're like, "Okay, that makes sense." Um, yeah, I really like him. I think there's insane upside there. Maybe nine's too high, maybe it is, but I'm confident that that's a guy that I would like to pick at 9 if I were an NHL GM. I'd develop him. I'd make sure he understands. what he needs to round out in order to be a great NHLer, right? How to play off of his teammates. I'd make sure he understands that. And yeah, that's the guy I'd pick at 9.
I have him higher than a lot of other people and not as high as you. But you will be thrilled if this does come to fruition because I have him going to Montreal. Um,
Oh, there you go.
Number 10 is Anaheim. And it was funny. I think this was, for some reason, the first player I actually asked Jeremy about when we hopped on the call. At number 10 to Anaheim, I have centerman Jake O'Brien from the Brantford Bulldogs. And Jeremy, the second we hopped on, I said, well, Anaheim just traded Trevor Zegras away. So I think with Jake O'Brien, they're getting Trevor Zegras, who does more off the puck. Like he is about as elite a passer. Like Zegras for as selfish as Trevor Zegras plays off the puck, he is an incredibly high IQ passer and playmaker. Jake O'Brien does everything else, gets the puck, and then can fire a dime of a pass through legs, through sticks. Like he connected on some passes in some highlights I saw this year that was kind of like, oh my god, that looks like Henrik Sedin, that looks like Joe Thornton, and this player's not going to be that. Like I think high end, you're looking at maybe what Dylan Strome has grown into, maybe. Um, More so than Trevor Zegras, but he's also a guy that, despite the fact that he doesn't shoot the puck very much, he still had 32 goals in 66 games last year. So it's a player that does very, very, very well in the offensive zone. He's one of the best offensive forwards of this draft, and he's one of the best passers in this draft. He's big, he's skilled, he's creative. Like it's a lot to like about this player, and the doubts are not going to outweigh the the pros in terms of his toolkit and his IQ. I don't think he gets past the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I think Anaheim snaps him up at 10. Who do you have at 10?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just talk about these two guys at the same time.
Hmm.
At 10 and 11, because you've already mentioned them, you've already brought them up, so I'll just talk about them at the same time. I have Frundell at 10 and then O'Brien at 11. So I do have O'Brien right now. Um, I'll begin with O'Brien because we're on the topic. Uh, at 11 would be Pittsburgh. So O'Brien is, like you said, an amazing passer. It's the playmaking level, like just the pure. It's funny to say, but the skill level in his passes, like he's able to dish passes so accurately, so fast, so ahead of the play. Saucer passes on the back end. It doesn't matter what kind of pass, he's gonna make it work. You know, he's an amazing playmaker. A lot of people also maybe don't know that, but he's so good at like off the puck, maybe going up like behind a defenseman, stripping the puck. You know, I've talked guys like Eklund and Coots as being amazing off puck guys. O'Brien is as good as them, if not better off the puck. Like he is so good off the puck, pressuring, like creating turnovers. I think those are his two main qualities. I'm a little lower. Like obviously, I have Coots, Eklund 7, 8, and then I have O'Brien at 11. They're in the same tier. I don't really care if you want to have him over those two guys that I mentioned. That's fine. If you really bank into the playmaking aspect, if you think he's a better player, he's taller as well. Um, I thought a lot of what he did great was at 5-on-4. That's kind of scares me a little bit. Not too much, but you know, if you look at the production percentage, that's one of the guys who actually had biggest share of production on the power play. Um, and it's like aside from just that, because obviously I don't just want to say this and then not really build my argument. My argument is that at 5-on-5, I find guys like Coots and Eklund to be the more consistent player who will give you exactly what you need to have on every single shift, while O'Brien maybe doesn't really always have that. Like I said, he's great off the puck, but maybe to a lesser consistent level than Coots and Eklund, and even just being like a dangerous offensive player at 5-on-5, it's a little less often do I see like the consistency in his game. But um, I had him at like 20 2 months ago. Now I have him at 11. He rose. I think he's a guy who rose on a lot of people's list. I think NHL teams love him because he's got all the the off-puck game, but with the size as well, and the playmaking, but with the size, I think the size is a good aspect. I think he's going to translate probably pretty well. We'll see how he goes. But yeah, that's the guy I have 11. Now at 10, Frendel. Um, Frendel plays off his back so well. He's such a smart cycle player. Um, the thing is that he's not a puck carrier, so there's automatically a limitation to his game. He's not a guy who's going to be that main driver. I think the defensive game is slightly overrated as well. Obviously, you've got different responsibilities as a winger than as a center, but when you looked at him as a center at the U18s, that's where he really had the center role. He wasn't that good. I think he's going to be more of a winger. There's limitations in his game. I think if you pick him at two, I think that's a little bit um missing out on a full, like, well-rounded guy like Misa. But then again, Frondel is like his shot is nasty. You mentioned it, in nasty shot, and just overall, like the goal scoring knock, nasty. The strength, so good. The physical element of his game, he's very good. Like I said, cycle player. So along the boards, being able to play off the boards, use his back as a shield, cut to the middle, get a nice shot. And he's even got some one-on-one skill. I've seen him do well one-on-one, just not all the time and not with speed all the time either. He's more of an off puck guy. We'll see. I just value these guys a little lower. But I get why some people might have him very high. Yeah, those are the two guys I have at 10, 11. So yeah, that's for me, Anton Friedel and then Jake O'Brien.
Pittsburgh has both 11 and 12. My guy at 11, Jeremy, I'm completely putting you on the spot. I didn't ask you this before. But if I said player in this range that we haven't talked about yet, that would have been a slam dunk number one or number two overall pick 15 years ago, do you know who I'm talking about?
Green Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Brady Martin is an absolute freight train, man. This guy just absolute menace for every defenseman going back to get the puck. Like Chris Tanev soaks hits like no other when he goes back and retrieves the puck. Every single team that Brady Martin plays against, it'll just have to be all Chris Tanevs, and they'll all have to be able to go back, make a pass, and then take a monster running through you because he is so aggressive on this forecheck. The way he runs around, I think the term that I use to myself like out loud at like it was on like the fourth shift of the game in one of my viewings of him, and I said out loud like this is the fourth consecutive shift he's gone out there and played like it's the last shift of hockey he's ever going to play in his life. Like he's just everything to the wall every time he steps on the ice. He is the premier physical player in this draft. He's not a good enough skater, period. It's not a secret. My knock on him is the same as everybody else's knock on him. He also seems to he forced one-on-ones too much. Like it almost seemed like he would take the puck through the middle of the ice and then his head went down. And I just want to see more collaboration with his line mates. And it's not that he was like he's a good playmaking player. It's more just when he gets tunnel vision and he puts his head down, he can start making the wrong decisions. And with this player, like it should just be handed off to somebody, let them dump the puck in while you get a head full of steam, and then punish whoever goes back to get that puck. And it seemed like sometimes he was just coming into the offensive zone and almost for no reason trying to beat guys one on one when there was better plays. But that's just a maturity thing. So I think this is a player who will be a top six forward if his skating catches up, but no matter what, will be an absolute fan favorite third liner, even if he doesn't hit that premier skating ability to be a play driving top six guy.
That screams Pittsburgh player during the rebuild.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, true. That makes sense. Well, I guess I'll talk to him. I'll talk about him, sorry, right now quickly because I don't have him ranked in my top 15/16. He's a little bit outside. Like you said, I really see the third line guy with him. Just hard-nosed, gritty farmer boy who just demolishes people, right? He's not big. He's like 6 foot. I'm pretty sure he's either 6 foot or maybe 6 foot 1. I think he's 6 foot. Um, and he's just built, man. He's 6 foot of pure muscle, and he's just gonna demolish people. I don't know if it's muscle or fat. I don't care what it is. He's a bulldozer. There's a few guys like that in the draft, every single year, like very, very few, and he's one of them. What's interesting is, especially towards the end of the year at the U18s, he really took a step forward, looked better, looked like an actual like hockey player more than just a football player, right? He looked like a guy who could do something with the puck, who had playmaking flashes, skill flashes, and now especially goal scoring flashes. He looked like he could do stuff well. The defensive game also is extremely well rounded. More than off the puck, just especially just catching guys like lacking and catching guys on the like going back on the transition, back checking. I think is that's kind of another element of his game that's pretty good. Um, I'm a little lower on him because, like I said, I'm not sold on the upside. I think he's more of a middle six guy at best. Um, but like you said, he's going to be a fan favorite. He's a nice player. He's a player that's gonna uh, get his name heard a lot around the league just because probably he's going to get some dirty hits here and there. Maybe score some clutch goals. We've seen Sam Bennett right now be a very prominent player. Maybe he becomes a Bennett level player, wins the Conn Smythe, and then I regret ranking him outside my top 15. So yeah, we'll see.
um, it's the playmaking to me that can push him into being a top six forward because he needs to improve his skating. I'm not going to renege on that. But the top six trait he has is his playmaking ability. So that helps. It's hard to teach that level of IQ, and he's got it. Next for Pittsburgh, I don't need to spend very long on him because Jeremy had sung the praises. Victor Eklund is coming up for me next. I really liked him at the World Juniors. The one thing that Jeremy, well, I mean, he said it as concise as I can be. One of the best, one of the best motors in the draft, and it's a lot like Martin, where if he's on the ice he's always doing something, and it varies shift by shift. He's not a guy that goes out there and needs to, like, if he doesn't get the puck in transition in the neutral zone, okay, he's gonna go off the ice now. Like every single shift he's on the ice, he's doing something. Maybe that's hounding a guy from behind on the back check. Maybe that's being the player to win a puck battle in the corner. Maybe like it could be any and all of those things. And again, if I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins at 11 and 12, Brady Martin and Victor Eklund is a dream start to this rebuild for them. I'd be fired up if I were Pittsburgh. Did you give me a 12?
Like my pick, no, I didn't yet.
Okay, then that will
All
be
on
yours.
Eklund.
I'm going Eklund 12, Pittsburgh, yeah, and Martin at 11.
Okay. Quickly, just want to say, well, it's not gonna be the fourth overall pick to goes to Buffalo. Uh, it's weird. It's only Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan. That's it for Petica. So I
Ooh,
thought the price would be higher.
me
Maybe
too.
do this because contract is coming up. But yeah, okay. So we can rule out the fourth overall going to Buffalo. That will stay to Utah. Um, at 12, I have Justin Carbonneau of the Armada, a guy who I've seen all season long, as much in live as on my computer. Um, because I don't live too far away from that arena. So that's a guy I've kept track a lot. He is extremely strong. Like you can just tell that he's just physically strong. He's very, very like a lot of muscle. His passes are oftentimes too strong because he just has too much, strength to his body. Um, that's just like funny thing, but it doesn't really matter. Like in terms of stylistically, the guy, what he is a player who will capitalize on the other team making mistakes, jumping on them and scoring a nasty goal. He's a pure goal scorer. The slap shot is among the best in the entire draft class. He's got a nasty slap shot, nasty wrist shot. I think I had him as the second best shot in my Instagram post behind Martin, and like it could be swapped. I don't really mind. I think he's got elite shot. The playmaking is also not to sleep on. I've seen him at times this year faking a slap shot and then making a pass that I didn't think he would ever see, especially not him as a goal scorer. Um, like overall offensive talent is insane. The thing that's a little bit scary is that he doesn't, first of all, he doesn't really have a secondary game as of right now. It's more like all offside, and if it doesn't work, he gets frustrated and then tries things by himself, and then it doesn't work, even like it works even less, and then he just gets more and more frustrated. And what I was gonna say is I've seen him live against Moncton, against Caleb Denoyer, and Denoyer had like by far the most well-rounded game out of the two. Wasn't even close. Um, and even offensively, it was better because Moncton is such a stacked defensive team that when Cabono faces these high level teams against high level defenders who do not give him the space to attack them, he kind of fumbles under the pressure a little bit. Um, he was insane at the beginning of the year, and he's still insane, but not at a higher level. It's kind of stayed the same high level of skill, just it's weird because I always say this with him. He's easy to read in the sense that he's hard to read. He's hard to read because you don't know if he's going to be a top six guy or not. Because you don't know if he's going to work out in the NHL, if he's going to be able to capitalize on the opposing team making mistakes, or if because the NHL is such a better level, there's just going to be no space for him. So he's hard to read. You don't know what he's going to become, but it's easy to just say, oh, he's top six or bust. Let's put him in the tens. Basically, everyone has him from 10 to 20. It's easy to just plug him there. Um, we'll see. Maybe he becomes a Kyle Connor type of player who, with speed, capitalizes on teams making like the smallest mistake, capitalizes and then scores a goal. That's maybe what he becomes. That's wishful thinking. Maybe he becomes more of a like middle six option, uh, secondary goal scoring option. We'll see what he becomes. I'm very curious, but a lot of upside. I have him at 12, but that's a high upside pick. I still think that guy could be a high goal scoring player in the NHL. So that's who I would pick at 12.
I like just watching him stick handle. Like his
Yeah,
hands.
I didn't
Yeah.
talk about the hands, but yeah,
Yeah.
skill level is also insane.
I have him soon, but not yet. Next pick is Detroit at 13. I don't need to say much because this was the player that Jeremy proposed to. Sorry, no, just gushed about in every other way. Braden Coots going to the Detroit Red Wings. This seems like about as Steve Yzerman as a centerman gets to me. Like Yzerman is going to absolutely fall in love with him. Um, Already looks like an NHLer, honestly, when I watch him. There were times where I was watching Seattle game to watch Mertka, and Coots was way better, and then vice versa as well. But I think Detroit has fun. I think of the three now, with Casper and Danielson, this is the one that could be a first line center. It won't be the high scoring first line center. It won't be the 100-point first line center by any means. But as far as just a awesome, solid pivot that you can build around, again, and that's with Casper and Danielson. Like that is a top three centers. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Um, 13 Detroit for you, Jeremy.
I have Jackson Smith, so we talked about him a little earlier. I didn't talk about him too much because I wanted to leave some for now. Yeah, so mobile, so fast when he really gets going under his feet. The mobility is insane. Um, I think he's a good defender, but not all the time. Well, first of all, I just want to say like the offensive potential is just absolutely there, right? He's got rocket for feet, sorry. He's got very good slap shot as well, just all around good goal scoring potential, but just the skill level, he's kind of a Denton Mateychuk. Like he's gonna find himself below the goal line sometimes, just trying stuff all the time. Very creative player, extremely creative player. Defensively, man, I've seen him times like that's kind of what's frustrating me with Jackson Smith. I had him as high at like 6 or 5 at some point in the year. Now he's at 13 for me. Um, the thing is that, well, first of all, I just want to say if I was Pittsburgh, I would pick Smith at 12. I think Pittsburgh would definitely pick a defenseman in their prospect pool. So I would switch those two. But as I have them ranked, I have Calvin and then Smith. Um, like Smith, I've seen him in the playoffs, like in a playoff game. It was like tied in the second period or third period. I can't remember. It was like towards the end of the game. It was tied. And then he's in front of his goalie, and then he sees like a forward come in on the left side, and then like everybody would do is just pass on the right side or skate on the right side. He's trying to attack him on the outside on the left side and barely gets it. And then there's another guy coming in and again tries to deke him out, fails, turns the puck over, and then his team, the other team almost scored. I think they hit the post or whatever. Like I was just like, what are you doing, man? He's so good and he just wants to prove it all the time, but there's times to do it and there's times to actually be serious, right? Um, it's been the case all season long. With the puck, he's making a ton of turnovers. He's I love who players. Okay, I just want to say I think making turnovers is a good thing. I just want to see improvement. Lenny Hudson made a ton of turnovers in the NHL. I don't care because he's improving and he understands, right? Jackson Smith, I haven't really seen this like understanding level throughout the season. Lenny Hudson wouldn't really turn the puck over the way that I saw Jackson Smith do in a playoff game. Like he didn't do it against Washington, Lynn Hudson. Jackson Smith did it in the playoff. That kind of pissed me off a little bit. I think I want him to use his brain because he has a hockey brain. He has a hockey IQ offensively. I want him to kind of still do all the good things he does, but just pick a time where he needs to do it where he needs to be serious. But yeah, I mean that's a very good defender. All the things you said before, I agree with them, and yeah, I have him at 13, but I can't really let him slip too far because he's still like very good.
Yeah, speaking of not letting guys slip too far, next up is when I have Justin Carbonneau. And
Hmm.
for Carbonneau, like there are, if I'm looking at my list, at least five players in the next 10 are so much safer of a pick than Justin Carbonneau at 14 to Columbus. But everything you said about him is true in terms of his high end hockey ability offensively. Um, some just incredible hands. And I know I said that just as soon as you wrapped, but um, he's the guy. He's the guy that bumped Cameron Schmidt down my rankings for the first time because early in the season I had Schmidt high because of how well he started, how many goals he was scoring. And then when I kind of started to watch Carbonneau a little bit more, it made me realize some of the holes in Schmidt's game just because of how much better Carbonneau did them. Um, Columbus at 14, I think, makes sense because Lindstrom last year is their big pivot down the middle. They obviously have Adam Fantilli, who I think we've just seen take a big step forward that is predating another huge step forward for next year. Um, so giving him like a wingman like Carbonneau is awesome. I think it's a great idea. Do you have a 14 for me?
I do. It will be someone that we have not talked about, Logan Hensler from Wisconsin, right hand defenseman. I think that's a guy who, in his draft year -1, showed a lot of promise, a lot of potential, a lot of creativity, skill level, and as soon as he entered the NCAA, it vanished. He wasn't this creative guy. He was more the safe, reliable guy, always making a pass to his other defensemen instead of going forward, always being extremely safe defensively. At the blue line, he would shoot or again pass to his other defenseman or pass along the boards. He wouldn't really try to play a guy one-on-one, really try to get a better scoring chance. He would always content himself with something simple because he didn't want to make a mistake. I think that wasn't the right approach. And as the season really went along, he started showing a little more of those flashes, a little more activation, a little more going low, going for these higher risk a little bit, but if you're good, it's not really risky. Higher risk, higher reward plays that high level defensemen do. I think um I think he projects well as a second pairing defenseman. That's really it. Two-way, smart, reliable, not the biggest, not the smallest, Not the fastest, but not the slowest. Just a reliable guy on the second pairing. I think he's very easy to translate, and he's the thing. Like I said, the thing that really differentiates him and the other defensemen that are going to come up soon. I think he has actual like offensive potential. I think he could pot maybe 40, 45 on a power play too. Um, sure, that's why I would have it 14 for I think it's Columbus at the moment. Yeah, sure. Toss him to Columbus. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I have him at 19, and the thought of him and Philip Broberg on the same defense core made me very excited for them. Both together and separated. I think they'd be awesome. I think Broberg as the left D on one pair, and then Hensler as the right D on the other would be awesome. Or you can play them together. It's great. It'll allow for a lot of flexibility. I kind of look at him as, again, not saying the player comparisons are there, but I look at him to the Hronek to Vancouver's Hughes, right? Just the wingman kind of number two guy, number three guy. Next up is Vancouver at 15. If we're talking about picks that could get traded, this would be a very unsurprising one. But right now, Vancouver has it, and I would love to see this guy fall this far. Carter Bear of the Everett Silver Tips is my 15. A lot of what we said about Brady Martin, Bear doesn't hit like Martin hits, but his competitiveness and his energy, his the intensity in his compete level, is all up there with Martin. Same thing as Eklund, where his motor's just always going. And that comes from an interesting place here. He was a sixth round pick in the WHL, and that, like, sixth round picks in the dub, like the WHL draft reaches a point where teams start passing on their picks. Like, that's how many players and picks happen in this draft. So a sixth round pick in the WHL, like, you're not even expecting an impact player on your WHL team, right? It's not the player you're going to get. And then last year, the guy just absolutely breaks out. Like, he he was so good in front of the net for Everett last year, and you could see flashes of this. And then the playmaking came in this year. And when he switched from just a net front guy to somebody who carries the puck through the neutral zone and makes a great first pass when he enters the offensive zone, or is there to receive the puck along the boards and then fire one cross zone to a pinching defenseman coming down, hit him perfectly, right? Like, it is a lot to love about Carter Bear. It's physicality, it's the IQ in his passing. Um, I think Zach Hyman isn't quite the right one. He's some mix of Brandon Hagel and Zach Hyman to me, I think.
Yeah, I see Braden Hagel. I get what you mean. Um, I have him at 17, so close. Like you said, lots of things to love. Obviously, the injury, sorry, isn't the best sight, but he'll be fine, hopefully. Every time I see him, I just want to see more. It's just like I want to see just a little bit more every time, right? A little more dominance, a little more skill level. Yes, there's all those points because he's intelligent and he's a net front guy, and getting all those garbage goals a lot of the time. I still just want to see a little more, right? A little more dominance in the transition game, a little more dominance a one on one. But yeah, like you said, all the like effort level, high motor, high pace guy, and has some skill. He does have some skill. I think he's a guy who's going to be this like staple around the 10 to 15 range, right? I've been 17 just because I want to see more. I think maybe I had lesser viewings. I only had five, so that's one of the guys I've actually seen the last in the first round. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 17 is too low, but I still see him as a good player, even though I'm a little lower. I like him, and all the things you said are all very true.
Next up for me is the last one we'll go into deep detail on as far as the mock draft goes. So this is the last of my back half of the first round. I did have Cullen Potter written down as the first of Montreal, but you've talked about him already. So I'm gonna talk about Cameron Reed because that's the guy I had at 17. Montreal have back-to-back picks. Um, Cameron Reed is so good of a skater. Like, he's equal parts a lot of different guys. But the skating ability fuels everything. Like he does so well at the point of receiving a pass and then using his feet to leave the winger that's coming at him. The winger is no longer part of the play. Like Cameron Reed gets the puck at the point, shimmies, and it's a 5-on-4. Like it just for again for a flash of time, the guy doesn't go off the ice. But you get my point about like all it takes is a little bit, and all of a sudden so much opens up. It's not even just that in the offensive zone. The skating ability, he can be a one-man breakout at his best. And I'm talking about all this at his best. He's not physical enough. Like he just is not. He does not use his body effectively enough to be a top pair defenseman right now. Um, as of right now, this is raw. This is a raw player, and you're drafting him based on the fact that he moves the puck so well for a defenseman, and you're drafting that skating. And if I'm Montreal, Colin Potter, Cameron Reed, 16, 17, you just picked up one of the best forward skaters in the draft and one of the best defenseman skaters in the draft. So if I'm the Habs, I'm pretty okay with that at 16, 17. What are you looking at for your hometown boys there, Jeremy?
I have so it's big 16 or is it seven? Sorry, what big is it right now?
We're 16, 17, but Montreal has them both.
Okay. I think I skipped my 15. I'll talk about them. I'll talk about 15 and then 16
Okay,
really.
yeah.
I'll just rifle through them. At 15, I had Lyndon Lakovic. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's a Porter Martone light in the sense that he's big but doesn't use his body to be a physical player. He's a rangy guy but with finesse. He's very interesting. He's like a tall Riley Height a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, Smooth skating uses his like the back of his foot to kind of slow down at his pace and then drive, smoothly and then use his very smooth hands to make efficient passes in depth for players. Um, has a good shot. He's just like I said, he's just raw and doesn't use his body right now enough. And he's very inconsistent. When his smooth game doesn't work, when he's not able to cruise to the offensive zone and look really good, um, there's nothing, and it's kind of annoying. Like I tried like I remember back in November, I had him pretty high, like I have him right now at 15. Tried to showing my friend, who's also a lot of into scouting, try to like get him to watch him, and he kept on falling on bad viewings. And those bad viewings, he got him at like 35. It was like I don't see anything with this guy. And I kept telling him like rewatch him, rewatch him. Eventually you'll see it, and then eventually he saw it. But inconsistent right now, a little raw, but still like a lot of skill. So that's who I have at 15. 16, I have Reddy Murtka. You've talked about him. The skating is wonky right now. He's a raw player right now, but he's got a lot of potential. He uses his reach so well defensively. He has honestly good offensive skill. I thought he was going to be like a David Jiricek 2.0 because he's tall from Czechia, played pro Czechia. Like that's like last season's what I thought. Now it turns out he's a little different. And obviously David Jiricek maybe isn't all that good. It turns out in the NHL. Maybe he was rushed a little bit, who knows? Um, I think Murtka is far from the final product. That's why I have him at 16 right now. I think he's like still ways to go to the NHL in order to not get like absolutely blown past by defensively and in order to impose his game in the NHL. I would take my time with him, but there's potential. There's undeniable potential with Rudy Mirka. So that's why I would have at 16, and then at 17 I have Carter Bear. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just talked about him. So Lakovic 15, Murtka 16, and then Carter Bear 17.
Okay, Jeremy. Love it. Thank you so much for as much detail as you put into every one of those players. I'm not going to ask for a similar level of detail, but I'm going to ask for your three favorite players that are going to go in the back end of the first round for you. And just a minute on each of them.
Right. Oh man, can I have four? I'll go quick.
Yeah, yeah. Go quicker.
Sounds good. Number one, Riker Lee. Riker Lee is slow. He's a bad skater, but he's so good with the puck. It's insane. The skill level is absolutely insane. I've seen him like spin around out of nowhere and then dish it past on no look backhand right to his teammate. in front of the net for a goal. He has a great shot. He's just such a good offensive talent. Just lacks that skating right now. And I think he could be more physical as well. And he cheats a little bit on defense. He has holes in his game, but the upside is insane. Number two, Shane Vinsagi. I really don't see much of a difference between Brady Martin and Shane Vinsagi. I think Shane Vinsagi is going to be another fan favorite who absolutely bulldozes everyone, right? If you have the buck, it's like if you have like a $1 billion ticket and he sees it and he wants to steal it from you. He's going to run you over, and he plays NCAA, which is a tougher level than CHL. So maybe that skill level, that playmaking level that Martin showed throughout the season, Mensagi couldn't really show it because it's a harder level, and that wasn't really his role with a very stacked MSU team. Not MSU, sorry, Western Michigan team. Either Michigan. I think it's
It,
Michigan State.
it's Michigan State, yeah.
Yeah, MSU team. Very good player. I think he's gonna translate super well. I think he might be a potential reach in the initial drafting. I think a team could maybe reach him very high, like a Jet Tuchenko type of player this year. Number three, Michael Sverchek. Another version of a guy who just goes, but he's smaller. He's 5'10" and he plays in Europe, but he like off the puck, he's a monster. He's like a Victor Eklund light. Playing in the SHL this year a lot of the time. He even played like high level playoff games, like towards the end of the playoff games. I think even his team won the SHL playoffs. Like he went very deep into the playoffs, and his team trusted him fully as a small, underdeveloped physically guy to play that physical game because that's how good he is at it. Um, there's potential as a playmaker. There's potential as a puck carrier. He's a great skater. So I think there's a lot to like with him. He might be a huge steal in the NHL draft that's coming up in a few days because I think he's gonna fall to the second, third, fourth round. I think he might be a huge steal. Last one, Victor Klingsell. I just made a highlight tape of him on my Instagram channel. There's just no like there's at some I think he's gonna be able sorry be available past 75 probably because he's also 5'10" and he's Swedish. At the 75 fifth pick, I guarantee you, whoever it is, doesn't even come close to the skill level that Klingsa has. I literally put like a 2 minute and a half video of him doing the most insane, ridiculous clip, like showing of skill over and over again. And he's good off the buck. He's good defensively. He's a transition guy. There's just so much to like, and his game is way more well-rounded than people think. I think he's a huge sleeper, and that's a guy who I have in my first round. Definitely not going to go in my first round, but there's just four guys that I wanted to talk about quickly. So yeah, there you go.
Jeremy, like love it, love it, love it. For me, I there's two more players that I wanted to just get the smallest. Let's call it three players that I want 1 minute as to first 30 seconds why they would be a great NHL or last 30 seconds what they have to improve. So I'm gonna start Kashawn Aitchison.
That's
Right.
the player whose name I've been waiting to hear this whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we have to cover him, right? Because he's a big name.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So Etchison has these highlight reels of just hitting people and then scoring amazing goals. He had an insane amount of goals this year. Um, he's an interesting one in the sense that maybe people think he's a already like close to the final product guy. He's not. He's far like he's got ways to go defensively. He's old for the draft. I think his game is like has a lot of holes the more you look into them. But you can't deny the shot, you can't deny the strength, the athleticism, and like I said, the physical potential. He's a scary guy for sure. And yeah, at some point you have to bank into the pure like athleticism and rawness into a guy like that. Maybe he's gonna go higher than I would like him to go, but he has potential as a second pairing defenseman for sure in the NHL. We'll just see how he develops. I hope he doesn't get rushed because that I think would be a mistake, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
okay, I've got him at 20. Ben Kindle, Calgary
That's the guy
Avalanche.
I love. I have Ben Kindell at 18, so he would have been the next guy I would have talked about. In your face type of playmaker or just puck guy. He has the puck and then he sees you and then he's the one attacking you as you're the defenseman trying to be safe. So he kind of messes up with your head a little bit. Super aggressive, high pace. He's again on the smaller side. I think he's 5'10 or 5'11. On the smaller side, both in terms of height and weight, right? He's gonna have to add some muscle. Try to ask maybe Braden Martin for some advice on that. But yeah, with the puck and even off the puck, offensively, he's a very high skill guy. Maybe dare I say a little bit boom or bust. We'll see. I would be patient with him again. I'd love to see him in the AHL for a few years before the NHL. Maybe not a few years, maybe just one full season. But high potential guy. Yeah, I have him at 18, so I love him.
All right, last player we're going to talk about today, Cameron Schmidt. Give me where you got him and the the whole package here.
Yeah, so Cameron Schmidt, I have in my early second round. I know that's low, sorry. I know that's like everyone loves him, and I've also loved him throughout the season. I want to put him higher. I just can't because he's like 5'7", 5'8", and us like I don't want to end on that, right? I don't want to say he's just 5'8", so that's why I don't have him high. Um, I think his game is like he's physical, so that's good, and he has a good shot, so that's good. But he plays like he's the play driver in the WHL, and those 5'8" guys in the NHL aren't play drivers. When you look at Caulfield, he's an off-puck goal scorer guy. I and just all the 5'8", 5'9", like very talented guys in the AHL, for the most part, they're not play drivers. There are guys with high level of offensive talent, but who will work when they will have a guy who will give them space. Schmidt doesn't play like a 5'7", 5'8" NHLer right now. That's not how he plays. And I think staying in the WHL, where he's not really going to have this challenge in the next few years, I think his play style won't really change that much. I think he's going to hit a brick wall when he's going to enter the NHL. But he's so skilled. He's so good. I still have to have him in my top 40, right? The early second round. Um, Lots to like, just concerns of size and play style.
For me, there was one skill of Cameron Schmidt's that I fell in love with. The last point I'll make before we wrap. Nathan MacKinnon does something so well that so few players do. The ability of Nathan MacKinnon's to shoot the puck in motion is uncanny. It is so good how he can have his head up and fire a puck into a dangerous area, whether it be on net, just anything, in between two strides. Cameron Schmidt is the only player I've ever scouted that has where that has been one of the first things I've noticed, right?
Mastered it. He's mastered it for sure.
Yeah. So that's my favorite part of him. And that was like what drew me in because he was scoring almost a goal a game clip and I'd watch him and I'd be like like how is the goalie supposed to expect that even like was my impression of watching him fire pucks on goal. That's all I've got. Very quickly, I'll throw to James to do the wrap and ask any other last questions. Jeremy, I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm going to speak on behalf of Jeremy for a second and say this language we're speaking in isn't his first one. So, like, absolutely massive props to him for doing this for a third year in a row with a bunch of Western Canadian guys who um, don't speak French and are dragging him on to talk about prospects for 2 hours in not his first language. And he has hit a home run for the third year in a row for us. So, friend of the pod, Jeremy, thank you so, so much for this. And again, just appreciation on every level.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure every single year. Trying to get better at speaking English, so definitely helps talk with you guys. And yeah, maybe we could do a little series recapping the draft in a few weeks. We'll see how things turn out. But yeah, always a pleasure with you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Loved it. And you know what? I could listen to you guys educate me on prospects all day. I mean, it's I've been neglecting my duties over the past month with final prep, and I feel like you guys just did all of it for me. So I thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always. But Jeremy, our unofficial Great Canadian Hockey Podcast scout, an official scout for McKean's, I have one parting question to ask you. Who is going to have the most immediate impact among players outside the top five in this NHL draft?
So basically, who will be like the biggest riser or just the biggest NHL, like as the quickest NHL guy?
Quickest NHL impact for that organization.
Right. Outside the top five. So immediately I want to exclude Schaefer, Misa, probably Frundell. I'll say Dinoyer, Marteau, and Higgins just to play it safe.
Sure.
Um, Give me about 10 seconds. I'll have to look quickly. You know what? I think a guy like Brady Martin could maybe sign very quickly, look good off camp. I think he's gonna get drafted like 6 to 9 range, somewhere
Mhm.
around that, just outside of the top five. I think he could get signed very quickly, look good, and immediately make me regret having outside the top 15 and just have an impact as an NHLer. Maybe not high level, maybe towards like I remember in 2021, Cole Sillinger signed super quickly in his draft year +1. No one really expected that with Columbus and had like a 30-point season. People were like, okay, well, he's maybe, better than we expected. Turns out he's more of this 30-point guy. But I think his game is well-rounded. I wouldn't do it, but I think maybe it could happen. I could regret it. Maybe for another one quickly, a guy like Victor Eklund could I now he's in Europe, so it's gonna be hard, but if he really impresses out of camp, I could see him having an impact very quickly. He's a guy who just already played pro the entire season uh in the Allsvenskan league, so he knows what it's like to play against men, and his
Mm.
style is going to fit in the NHL super well. So I could see those two guys potentially being quicker NHL players than I would expect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again to Jeremy Plourde. One hell of a guy and one hell of a scout. We love his work. Aiden, I have a fun little draft question for you on our way out. Not a full-blown trivia segment, but we spent all that time talking about the big names in the draft, but it's not always the big names that get focused on. Now, this one small piece of trivia is a fun one and undoubtedly one that you've heard of before. At some point in the history of the NHL, there was an organization that was frustrated with the NHL's draft
Can
process.
I jump in?
So they
Because I
made up
know.
a they made up a player. I know you know, but our listeners may not know. They made up a player and submitted this player's name to the NHL. What was the team? What was the player? And perhaps what was the year?
Oh, I got this. This is one of my favorite hockey stories ever. It's Taro. It's Tujimoto, I think is how
Fujimoto.
Tujimoto, yeah. Yeah, Buffalo was protesting the fact that, or it was Punch Imlach was protesting the fact that he didn't want the draft to be as long as it was, and it is no longer this long, so you can say that it worked, maybe in a weird roundabout way. Um, they made up a player from Japan who played for the Tokyo Katanas because it was a play on sabers. um in nine it was like it was like the third or fourth year that Buffalo were a team. It was within their first 5 years as a franchise. So it was 73, 74, 75. It was one of those years. And it's one of the funniest freaking hockey stories ever. Like, and no, again, like it was 1970, what, 73, 74, 75. The draft at this
74.
point, yeah, it's all on paper. So when they're like, oh, hey, there's this kid playing in Japan for the Tokyo Katanas, well, the rest of the league's like, okay, good job scouting Japan, I guess. And then this went on for like days, right? Like it was weeks of like, oh no, he's coming, he's coming. And like weeks later, he was like, nah. Imlach said, no, we made him up.
This happened in the NBA as well in 1976. The Utah Jazz, or they were still the New Orleans Jazz at that point, when they were appropriately named for jazz music. Um, they drafted a pregnant woman with their protest pick. Now, this was a very decorated pregnant woman. She was a college basketball player who won 3 national championships, but still, that was not she was not eligible. But the funnest fact on the Taro Sugimoto, there was a grocery store in Buffalo called Sugimoto's,
Mhm.
and the general manager of the team was friends with one of the owners, and he called the owner to ask for permission to use his name, and also asked for a typical Japanese given name, which is how they got Taro.
So massive kudos to that store owner as well.
Dude, I hope that grocery store still exists. Kind of want to go to Buffalo and find out.
I don't want to go to Buffalo, but go
All right, all right.
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. It was a nice thought. Aiden, I think that's all we have for today.
Oh, really quick. I've yapped about it. Abbotsford Canucks win the Calder Cup. Massive for the Canucks franchise. Every single one of those players came together and won that team. Won that
Max
team.
Sasson.
Yeah, all these guys were amazing. Instead of running through the roster and telling you every single player and what they did, Manny Malhotra, the head coach, something crazy like 40, this is not the right numbers, it was in the area of 43 of the last 56 games they played ended in wins, including the playoffs. Manny Malhotra as the head coach deserves a tremendous amount of credit, and if he's not an NHL head coach next year, everybody's stupid and everybody's going to be dumb until somebody hires him, and then that team will in fact no longer be dumb, and everybody else will have been stupid for not hiring him, including Vancouver, who just had an opening and did not promote him.
That will be all for this week's episode. We hope you guys have an awesome time watching the NHL draft, watching free agent frenzy get underway. This is hockey porn for the nerds of the deepest level of nerd. You know what? I will even say that some of my deep hockey nerd friends probably enjoy this more than they enjoy playoffs. So, I mean, if that's you, all power to you. Have the best time. We'll check in with you after and recap everything. Until then, without further ado, let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.